Good morning, traders. How we doing out there? And yes, it is a red light day. Alert, alert, as traders are bracing for the tariff shock. And is the market cracking here? A lot of questions to be had, of course. And I thought today would bring certainty. And really, I feel like the uncertainty is still looming and still at large. So we need to take a look to see what happened yesterday. What did Donald Trump do to the markets here? And was it a good thing, bad thing? We got so much to talk about. What stocks will get hit on this? What stocks should we look at maybe potential buying opportunity? There is so much to talk about, guys, whether you're going short, long. I want to hear you today in the chat. Today's that day where you guys should be buzzing with conversation. So keep it going in the chat. Let's get things going here. Let's take a look at the market. We'll go to the playbook, but really, I think today's just one of those days where we got to talk about what happened and what we can really kind of expand on this, right? And where can we look for some opportunities? Because that's going to be the most important thing. Of course, we're going to kick things off. Normally, we do the playbook first. I think we start off with the sunrise report. We talk a little bit about what's happened, and we start looking into the market because today's going to be one of those days where it's all about looking, I think, versus trying to make the most money. I know that a lot of traders are thinking that today, like, hey, today's a day to make money. But really, these are the days where I think it's more about understanding the price action and what is actually happening in front of your eyes versus what you're thinking about. Because today you have the conundrum of focusing on the macro and focusing on the day trading action. Those are two different hats. And sometimes we can get too focused on one side and not focus on the other and miss out on trades. So today's one of those days where it's going to be a little bit of some back and forth action. It's not just going to be clean action today. And we'll be seeing what happens with the market as we are through a danger zone as we get below the correction period. Now at 5:45 for the SPY. It's been going sideways though this morning. Let's see if right before the open we get either a down move or an up shake here. Well, let's kick things off with today's sunrise report and get to the action. What's going on in the stock world? Well, find out right here on, of course, Trade the Pool. All right, team, the futures are in free fall as the stock futures crater after President Trump unveiled a sweeping tariff starting at 10%, but climbing much higher for some countries. We'll talk about the countries and what was there. We'll get into images. We'll talk all about who can be getting hit the most. But the markets are in full risk-off mode this morning as the Dow dropped over 1,000 points. The S&P 500 down 3.1%, NASDAQ 100 down 3.4%, and big names taking a hit. Nike down 9%, Apple down 7%. It is a destruction all around the market today, and we're going to continue to look to see what stocks are getting hit the most. But there's so many stocks, guys, and I was able to make some money on shorting NVIDIA last night, and we'll see if this continues to come down. It wasn't the biggest return, but it was at least an ability to bounce back off of yesterday's red day, so made it a really small red day by taking a small trade in the after hours. Even 75 shares got me a good, nice little return there in an NVDL short. We'll take a look at the different market action. I'm going to keep talking about the names that got hit the most, but like names like Nike, just continuing even to get hit this morning. This is one that I should have came in the morning, kind of getting ready to short. And really today was one of those days where you needed to come in. Any gap up at the 4 a.m., I felt was an absolute gift for traders out there that woke up early and were ready to go with their shorts on. But there you guys have it. Nike, big hit there, guys. Apple down 7%, massive hit there. And that's not good, of course, as these tech names are what hold up the market. If they take a big hit and we get financials down like they are, even energy just continuing to get faded this morning. Look at the XLE down there now towards 89. And it's not just this area, right? The XLI finally broke the danger zone for me and now going towards that 128. I don't know, man. This is going to need a quick rebound. If not, things are looking bad. Even the staples took a hit, guys. Even the safety trade is taking a hit there. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll see what happens. But Five Below also down 11%. And I was talking about this last night, how this would be definitely a stock that could be seeing the big hit. This thing opened at 74. 0403 this morning at 415. What an opportunity. This thing went back down to 65.70s. Definitely should have been short this one. Waking up early was the move today, guys. And if you did that, I'm really proud of you guys, because these are the days where waking up early can actually give you an advantage. By the time the market opens, everyone's seen a lot of the price action, but you could have been jumping on this morning and making some easy cash in the pre-market. And what does Trade the Pool do? Of course, gives you that ability. You could have traded right at 4 a.m. So shout out to all those traders that were up early and getting those easy cash money, right? Can't be mad about that. Let's take a look at some other action, of course. Five Below, and then you got the Dollar Tree down 10%. And this one went down on the first action, but it's been going sideways. I think this one can continue to leak. You got Dollar General that could continue to leak. Walmart, that's leaking already. And this is a good opportunity on the short side, as it just broke 85 and could continue to fall. Even names like Costco could be falling today. So even the discount stores are seeing the struggle. So it's not looking good anywhere around. Retailers, of course, importing from Asia under pressure. And it's not, of course, just China. That's the major thing that we'll be talking about here. NVIDIA also getting the wallop hit there down to 103.79. There's a reason why I was shorting it. But look, if you came in at 4 a.m., you would already got there 345 on NVIDIA. A nice 4% move, 3% move down there in the pre-market, guys. Tesla down hit also. And this one was just bouncing back. Was looking like it was on a little bit of a comeback rally. And I'll be watching today to see if it can break 250. Big watch for me. If it breaks 250, then I can get short on Tesla. If it holds up here and even just hangs out above the 250, I won't be shorted. I'm looking for another cut down really below the 242 that could bring us to 200 on Tesla. We'll see what happens, right? But what's happening? Well, we all know, right? It's all about the Trump tariffs going into effect on April 5th, a 10% minimum, but much higher for certain countries. China's effective tariff now, 54%. Yes, you heard that correct. 54%. That is absolute insanity. There. I can't even believe sometimes when I'm reading some of these numbers. And then to make things worse, right? Because a lot of companies do a couple of strategies, right? And they do strategies to offset some of the tariffs that are out in the world. Well, one of the ways that companies were doing this is they were going to Vietnam, right? They were going to Vietnam and doing manufacturing there. So what did Trump do? He said, well, that strategy, we're not going to let that strategy fly anymore. Vietnam facing a 46% tariff on imports starting on April 9th. So, wow. That is drastic. And also going to be affecting a lot of companies that shifted their manufacturing from China to Vietnam. And now we'll probably have to be looking, where else do they shift their manufacturing? This is why in the long run, I'm going to continue still watching XLI. I think it's an important look to see what happens. But the market fears deeper sell-off. CFRA's Sam Stovall, which I know very, very closely. I need to reach out to him. Next week, I'm going to start trying to bring on some economists here. It's not something that we talk about all the time, but I think we need to start bringing them on because it's going to be very important the next couple of weeks what they have to say. We'll be bringing on Sam Stovall. I'll be reaching out to him. He's one of my friends, and he's warning here about the S&P 500. It could enter into further correction. So really concern out there. Of course, the supply chain's chaos as Vietnam and China. Vietnam had been China's workaround, right? And the new tariffs are forcing companies to scramble for alternatives. Companies like Nike, UGG, Van, Hasbro, all heavily reliant on Vietnamese production. Furniture and apparel brands like RH, American Eagle, Deckers on high alert. A high flyer like Deckers could be taking a big hit here, guys. ANF, right? AEO, all taking hits down this morning, right? Deckers that had been doing really well. This had been one of the darlings in 2024 and 2023. It was already down 51%, and this isn't going to help it. This is going to really hurt the shoes. Now look at Nike, down to 56. Nike could be down in a couple of days. It could be back down towards like 2014, 2013 pricing. Absolute insanity that it's kind of getting destroyed there. Under Armour could be getting hit further. I think this could put pressure on Under Armour for maybe a potential takeout or bankruptcy concerns. I mean, it's not looking good. On that people were liking here looks like it could get completely destroyed this morning, guys. I think this is very, very much concerning for all these companies out there, and companies that are shifting sourcing to Cambodia, Mexico, and Brazil are some of the things that you can be looking for, right? That's what you want to be watching. Where are they going to shift things? And will that help out the situation, right? Another thing is, do you want to maybe just go shorting Vietnamese stocks, right? So there is, of course, Vietnamese stocks. You guys can look at, I think it's VMH. Hold on one second, guys. I just want to make sure I get this ticker right here. It's VanX Vietnam. Just want to get this right here. Just give me 1 second, guys. I know it trades here. Just give me a second, guys. I just want to make sure I get this right. I had the ticker, just kind of deleted it there when I was making the sunrise. Gotcha, guys. It's VNM. That's why I messed it up there. There it is, guys. So this is the Market Vectors Vietnam ETF, and I'm looking to see if this could continue to drop, guys. This could be a good sign that you're shorting names in this space that are getting hit and could go further down, right? So you guys can see the destruction that happened yesterday. This was down about 8%, and it's down this morning, but not so bad. It did get a nice little kind of pop at 745. It's now down towards 1150, but it's another way to go about it in this trade. So we'll see what happens with this one. Definitely something to keep our eyes open to. Of course, there's also different ones out there, ETFs in Vietnam, that you guys can look to see the downside. After hours carnage. Of course, there's some earnings that came in for Restoration Hardware, but it got destroyed back down to 170.98 when this thing had just been coming back, guys. It just started to turn on the rallying bottom. Now it broke that long-term support, and this could be coming crashing down, guys. This could be back down into the 30s, and who knows where this is going to go. This is one of the top shorts, of course, and I'd be looking to see if we can get any bounce back to 200. Definitely would love to get short on this one. There's other names, right? Penske is PAG, which is, of course, a truck name that could be taking a big hit. Automotive could be taking a bigger hit also today, so that's going to be on alert. GM on alert, right? Ford on alert for downside action. Remember when Ford was starting to pop back on the news that was a negative news, and I said, what the heck is it doing above 10? This is going to single digits. Said it early on in 2025. That was when we were trading up there towards that. We are looking like we're heading down now and could be breaking the low of Wednesday, which is 982. This could be an opportunity within itself. Of course, there's retail and apparel crashing all below. We can take a look at some of those names. Gap down to 1905 and taking a big hit. And I had a red line drawn here for a reason, guys. It started to reject that, and really good action yesterday when it went to 2270s and really hard rejection there. So now it's just, can you come back to support so that I could short off of that layer? Maybe 1920s, 1930s recovery. I'll look for a move if it can get to 1960s or 20s out the gates to maybe get short on Gap. Lululemon also taking a hit there, guys. Lulu, a big hit here, guys. And I think this is going to be more destruction than you think, because the truth is that a lot of these apparel stores rely on manufacturing outside of the United States. And so what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to transition prices. Prices will have to go higher. I don't care what Trump says that you can't raise prices. The truth is they can do what they want, right? They're going to have to adjust there and they're going to have to raise prices. So this is not looking good. Another one that I had mentioned for shorts that it was just sitting at the top and it looks prime for a short today is Urban Outfitters. It is down a decent amount, but I think this could get even further hit today. I'll be watching to see if this thing just collapses. Urban Outfitters. And then another one you can be looking at is VSCO, Victoria's Secret. That could be taking a major hit and could be falling down fast, guys. So all these names not looking good, guys, and we'll see what happens. Of course, Victoria's Secret had a huge run going into 2025 with that new CEO kind of mentioned, and then it's right back down and could be going lower. So you got to brace for impact, of course, as the markets are on edge, as the trade wars are fully escalated and taken off. And China is really upset this morning at 54% tariffs, and China is battling back. They're talking about it. We'll see what happens. There's going to be some type of fight back from certain countries. Certain countries are not just going to, let's say, give up or be strong-handed. And so in this case, things will get worse in certain countries and things will get better in other areas. A lot of people are thinking that Trump will start working his way back from this area. And so essentially things will get better. This is the real hard cut down, right? And things will start working backwards, right? Well, we'll have to wait and find out to see what happens with that. But I think it's all talk to be had. I think we need to be looking at different opportunities today. And I had a lot of people asking me, well, what are you going to go buy, Money Mitch? What are you buying? Well, tell you the truth, guys, I am not looking on buying. I'm looking on shorting side. It's red light here, guys, and I'm in full bear cave mode. And we're just going to have to wait and find out from maybe a potential bull. Michael Noss, will he still be in the bull camp today? Have to wait and find out. That's the only thing that I can say. I'm definitely in just awe of the action of last night, and we got to continue to watch. The VIX is something, of course, to continue to watch. The SPY really, I mean, it went down decently. I mean, it was still a big hit there. I mean, we're talking, 4%, 4.36%. But we're not far from those lows, of course, on the 13th, when we kind of were down there towards 549.98. We got to look to see if we can recover 550 today. That's kind of be the level that I'll look at. If we can get back above 550s, I'll be a little bit on like kind of concern or just trying to be safe. I'm not trying to buy the dip, but I'm at least having a level that could be the level of concern, like where the bulls can take a little bit of some control back as they use lows to go ahead and risk off of. So those are all things to be thought about here. Of course, the SPY chart would look like this, guys. I'll show you guys it. So of course, if we come back and recover for that 550, that's kind of the layer that I would be a little bit concerned of us getting back above. Anytime we get back above this 576, and I'll be feeling back to the green light. But right now, it is not looking good, guys. If anything, this bear zone that we drew and created is starting to look closer and closer like the opportunity that we could be having. Are we going into a bear market? All questions to be had. Today, of course, we have a great guest. We'll have Andrew Moss, CMT, and we'll have the CMTs talk about the markets and take a look into it, right? Of course, I'll bring both conversations, the bull and the bear conversation, and we'll see how they feel about the markets and what's moving out there. But good morning to you guys. How we doing, Steph? Got a good move going long on the SQQQ post-market yesterday. Love to hear that. That's what I'm talking about, getting a little bit of some cash back or taking some cash in the after hours. These people are incredibly stupid. Thanks, Trump voters, says Rando. Well, Rando, tell them how you really feel, my friend. Nothing like yet today, sitting on my hands. Hey, nothing yet. That's okay, Shane. And it's okay to sit on your hands today. Like I mentioned, today might be a day more to be in watch mode than action mode. A lot of times I say, gas pedal, gas pedal. But the gas pedal to me is about certainty. When you feel like you really have something, it's okay to hit the gas pedal. But when you feel the uncertainties at its highest, it's more brake pedal and watch for me. So that's what I'll be looking for today. We'll see what happens. It's good to see you guys out there. Vic G, what's going on, man? What's going on, you traders out there? Let me know. What are you guys watching this morning? Let's kick things going. Let's see what stocks you guys are talking about out there. What else is being talked about? It's a pity that there's no subtitles. I don't know English. I am sorry about that, my friend. We should have some subtitles on too. It's just harder with live streaming to get subtitles on. Sometimes it triggers on, sometimes it doesn't. Wish you the best of luck, my friend. I speak Spanish. That's about the only other language I could do this show in. But hey, best of luck, man. And if not, then just watch the charts, because one thing that we do is we do show our longs, what we're going long, what we took, and things like that you guys can learn from. All right, let me lower down my kids here, as looks like I didn't turn off the audio this morning. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Whew, I'm ready for a big day. Today's the day, guys. A lot of action going to be happening back and forth. Vic G, we're shocked. And we could know that the bad news by moving the announcement after the market closed. And I think that was done on purpose, right? The official time should have been 3 p.m., but it was pushed back to 4 p.m. That was someone advising Trump. Telling Trump that, hey, if you do this in the intraday market, you could see further downside action. And so in the after hours, with the less liquidity, it could also impact, but maybe less. We'll see what happens there, guys. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get into certain images. We'll talk about this with, of course, Michael Noss coming up here at 9 a.m. It's a crazy day, and definitely, is it market in turmoil on CNBC? Well, it looks like it's market in turmoil here. Definitely a lot of traders will be looking all around to see what happens today. Almost had a heart attack watching that initial run-up, though. Yeah, it's a tough one. Caught the tariff drop on TSLL yesterday, up 300 off that alone. Hey, good way to take some good money, guys. And it's okay to take bets like that, guys. And the real thing that happened was Trump first officially said 10%, right? And 10% sounded good because some people were thinking that it was going to be 20%. And so the first reaction of the market was actually to the upside on this. This is where your heart attack happened, because everyone was thinking, oh, it was supposed to be 20. Now it's 10%. This is awesome. Let's go. Buy. And then it came, the image behind him, the diagram of what the tariffs would be looking like. That's when all eyes were like, whoa, what happened? Boom, market. Bam, bam, bam. Down she goes. And the bears came in fully loaded and ready to go. And boom, down she goes. And it's pretty bad when you think about the tariffs overall. But let's go ahead. Let's get out of that conversation. Don't worry about the heart attack. We're here for you guys. We're going to talk about what's going on out there. And that chart will go down in history. I agree with that conversation, Rando. That chart is epic. Epic indeed. All right, guys, it's time to really kick things off. It's time to start this show. Start the countdown. Let's get to it. Let's hear what's going on in the market from my man, Michael Noss. We'll be bringing on Andrew Moss, another CMT, right? We're bringing on guests to really take a look into this market. Take a look at what opportunities out there. Is it the short side today? The buy side? We'll talk about it. Let's get to the action. Wants 200, baby. You ready to get back to the trading action?
You aim, you shoot, and make money.
going to be a great day. You guys know where you're at. Let's get this show started. It's going to be a great one today. Let's bring on my man, Andrew. I'm saying Andrew. Let's bring on Michael Noss here, guys. It's
guys.
Market in Turmoil Day. What? Did they have it on CNBC? I haven't watched CNBC
probably.
today.
They probably are. We're at prices not seen since 2 days ago. So yeah, we should really be panicking. We were at the same price 2 whole days ago.
I agree with you that the price action isn't as bad as it could be, right? It could be maybe 10% down, 20% down, and worries of volatility halts out the gates here. That would be more of that, like, oh yeah, just go hide in a cave type of day. But I don't think it's that type of day, but definitely a surprising action from yesterday. One of the things that we talked about, Michael, was that maybe today would bring certainty into the market as it was uncertain. And now we at least knew what was coming, right? That's where I'm still even having the question here. I feel like it's still uncertainty, in the market here, even after the tariffs, because we did get some explanation, but there was still a lot of questions to be had.
Yeah. And you know me, you couldn't pay me to watch the presentation and do whatever. I don't know any trader out there who's going to make a whole bunch of money because they watched that whole presentation and they studied the whatever percentage tariff is going to be on Myanmar or whatever. It's just a list of a ton of countries.
This chart, right?
Yeah,
pretty much.
This will not make you any money as a trader knowing this. It just won't. I put out a tweet of me muting tariff and tariffs on Twitter forever. And I'm like, that will make me a better trader, right? We just gotta focus on the price action at this point, right?
Now, I will be the bear in that situation because I thought there was definitely money to be had early on this morning. Maybe it's not the biggest money, but like trades like Five Below, right? Like trades like Nike this morning. I don't know, man. I feel like that was textbook and easy, if anything, on that action. Just because of the way it traded this morning with a gap up move at 4 a.m. A lot of these giving you, I thought, a gift this morning, because for you to come in the buying shoes in a stock like Nike or Five Below, I could understand like maybe a stock like, like a major tech stock. You're like, okay, this could bounce back. It's a quality name. I'm going to go buying today. But names that have extreme exposure to these Asian manufacturing places. And I thought the real surprise, and I've already mentioned it, is more the Vietnam number, right? Like China, we expect it, right? But a lot of companies had done the transition of moving manufacturing to Vietnam to try to avoid this situation. And instead, they're getting hit again. So they're going to have to either move or adjust here. And I mean, I think it's interesting, right? There's not many times where I feel like you could make money on these situations. I agree with you, Michael. I was one of those that I was not watching the actual conversation. What I did was I waited for like the half an hour point after the speech. And I just looked at the market and I said, I'm just going to trade on that direction. Like, don't even pay attention to what was actually said. Just pay attention to the price action. And what did I see? Exactly. I just looked and I saw, okay, fake out to the upside and then down. Kind of like what we get a lot of the times on interest rate conversations, right? When the interest rate conference is going on, a lot of times the first move is the fake out move. And then we get the move. I think that's exactly what happened yesterday. And I think it was just more of a matter of people were confused also because he said 10%, but it's not 10%. Like this is not 10%, right? And that's where it gets really difficult. A lot of other countries seeing like higher and higher tariffs, but of course you see the tariffs charged to us, right? I mean, that's where his argument is, right?
That's not the tariffs charge to you though, right? That's why that as soon as I actually read the math equation they did behind using it, that's when I muted everything. Because that's not the tariffs charged to you. That's they did the math with trade deficits. So
Yeah.
basically, we buy more from China than them, which is somehow a bad thing. So they just listed it as tariffs, and people actually, and this is the problem, right? There's so many people who kind of look at this chart and they don't go actually see how things were calculated. It's the same as people when they're using indicators. They'll slap an
Exactly.
RSI on and you tell them how an RSI, you go, okay, what's an RSI tell you? They have no idea. So it's like, why use an incomplete piece of information for part of your trading, right? So these were more or less random when it comes to all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things that, again, I'm not. It's going to change, and I think that's what messed up the market more than anything. So we talked about this yesterday. If he came out and he said, okay, there's now a new policy of 20% tariffs across the board, everything that gets shipped in, I think the market would rip there. But the fact that this was calculated weird, and yeah, so this one too, I saw that there's a bunch of countries they put on there that don't have any humans on them. So
Yeah, yeah, the islands of McDonald's, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's where I was planning on moving next, guys.
yeah.
But I
So
can't go now because Trump with the tariffs, you know. Um,
so one of those that you ignore all of that, you shut all that down, and then you go and you trade your setups as normal. Like, I was talking to the people over at Stats Edge, is my website, and they go, "What are we going to do from a swing trading point of view?" I said, "Well, when my algorithms trigger, I will take the trades and just like any other day, right?"
mhm.
Again, we're literally at prices not seen since 2 days ago. So, unless we just completely fall apart today and lock limit down or something crazy like that, I think it's one of those. The market's going to take a while, and we talked about this yesterday, to digest this event. There's going to
Mhm.
be tariff winners, there's going to be tariff losers, unless you have spent the last couple weeks making a list of what those are and then potentially having a trade set up today. That's great. I think if you're looking at it today, then you're too late, right? You just follow the price action. So, you mentioned Nike. I actually had that on my list now. I was making the list while I was watching the show early. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be buying Nike if it does the VWAP
Wow.
fade
Wow.
setup. I don't
That
care what the
is
news is, right?
that is a surprising one, right? I'll tell you one thing. Very limited in that camp, right? And I think that those are
Probably
the
why it'll
trades
be a
that can
great
work.
trade,
Those are the
right?
trades that can work. I would
Yep.
definitely not doubt you on that. It's just something that I'm looking at because I think it's definitely going to be tough for certain areas, especially the areas for me that were consumer facing. They were already seeing slowdowns in demand, right? And so it's very hard to adjust there. And that's the one thing that I would throw in the caveat there is that these companies were already seeing destruction because of demand coming down fast. And now with this coming into play, they don't have too many options there, too much that they can do around this, right? They're just going to have to take the hit, right? And the question is, do
Yep.
you raise prices or do you affect your margins? Affecting your
Oh,
margins
they raise
doesn't work.
prices.
Do you
No,
raise prices, right? Because
you have to.
affecting your margins doesn't work because then you have to readjust everything you do. Like you have to worry about the supply chain, you have to worry about your employees, you got to worry about benefits, you got to worry about so many other factors that come into play. Another thing to think about is though, I mean, these companies have been doing these extreme buybacks. Could they just pull off the buybacks and maybe adjust there, right? Things
Mhm.
like that I think could be happening. And you just got to look at how the structurings will go, right? I think there's going to be certain companies that will get hit worse from this than others, right? And that's what we need to be watching today. I think an
Well, and
important. Go ahead.
well, the question isn't, is Nike gonna get hit, right? Nike's definitely, like, I'm not gonna look at Nike and say, "Well, this is something I wanna buy for the long term," but Nike's already got hit, right? It's
Yeah,
already
yeah. It's
down
already
a
been
huge
bleeding.
amount. So,
Yeah, like
it's
Deckers. That's another big one. That's already
well,
down like 60% or something from the highs.
yeah, so the question is the 14% Nike down in the pre-market, is that, now that the news is known, is that priced in, right? And again, it's what we're always looking for. As soon as the news is out there, right? I always have a saying that for all the traders I mentor, if you know the news, Goldman Sachs already knew the news, and it's already priced into the name. So the question I think everyone's got to ask today is everyone getting a little bit too worked up? And if so, if
No.
everyone's getting a little too worked up, then there could be these amazing snapback plays, right? They could be
Yeah.
short-lived because who knows what the trends would be, right? Trade the trends as you see them on the long-term charts. But I'm looking at some of these and saying, yeah, there just could be a snapback. Right? I don't need much. If Nike, again, the setup is a break of VWAP, look to take it to 2-day VWAP. It's just a simple in and out in 10 minutes. I don't care what's going on with Nike over the next 5 quarters. We're day traders, right? So
Yeah.
we're getting in, we're trying to make a few bucks, we're looking to get back out. And I think that is going to be the thing today. I think the thing that everyone's really got to focus on today is risk management, right? Whatever you normally trade, probably cut that in half today at least. Understand that, right? You're going to get way more movement when things open, and things are going to be really, really volatile. So,
Yeah.
make sure you take your cut. Another one I'm really watching. You want to talk about relative strength? You got to look at this Tesla. Tesla's not didn't even break yesterday's low, right? So it's still way above yesterday's low. So insane relative strength in Tesla up here at 266, way off its low of 213. So I'm watching TSLL early as well, because I might start to get into that on the day trading account, but then also to add to a little position on my swing trading account. If you go through the list, there's very little that is that's hanging out above these kind of March 25 lows. Tesla's way above, not only above that, right? It's above yesterday's low. That's one thing that I'm going through when I'm looking for relative strength, is just saying, hey, what's above yesterday's low?
Yeah.
Show me a stock green on the day, and I'll be really impressed. And unless it's like a super defensive name, show me a tech stock that closes green today, and I'm buying it.
Yeah, one thing that I'll mention in that is I agree with you on Tesla's watch there. And there's a reason why I said watch for 250. If we could break 250, that's where I would be like, okay, I'm going short on Tesla too, with the market kind of crumbling also. That's what I'd be watching for. But if Tesla doesn't break 250, I think it's still in that bullish camp on the ride back right now. So I'll be
Yeah.
watching for that. And like I said, I want the market to lead me a little bit more there. If I start seeing the market dump and then Tesla dumps and goes through 250, then I can get into that more of that attack the daily lows kind of thing and get after
Well,
that.
that's
But
another good point, right? I think most traders out there are probably
mhm,
just gonna be trading the market today. You're gonna get enough volatility in the market that
yeah,
if you
there's
snag a good
enough.
move, right? If we undercut this low and then reverse higher, right?
Yeah.
This thing could rip 3-4% today.
No.
If this
And with the
falls
VIX
apart,
where it's at,
we could be
also, it's
down
going to
3, four
help that
percent.
too, right? Where the VIX
Yeah,
where it's at heightened and pushing, it's gonna trade often. Majority
yeah,
of stocks will be correlated, right? And that's what
yeah.
happens during this time. I think we can
Right.
take a look to see definitely around what opportunities are out there, what things can get hit. But what I thought was interesting too was two areas that I didn't expect to get too much of a down move, but I'm seeing it is the energy move. Do you see how XLE is performing this morning? It's really
Yeah.
interesting because it's just like hourly candles like straight down, man. It's like
Well, and
that's
this is why we always kind of differentiate the stocks that create the energy itself, and then, right, the energy itself, because we have crude oil selling,
mhm,
and I think a lot of this is people, but then we have natural gas spiking, right? So we just need to know like what these, and this is where I know a guy, and he's from Alberta, and he only trades in oil and gas. He talks about this all the time, where crude oil is a good measure for um, kind of strength of the economy. If people are doing more and they're building more, they're burning more gas. It's not so much individual cars as much as, shipping more things
exactly.
and running
Construction,
excavators and
yeah,
building and that type of thing.
productivity.
And then, yeah, and then he talks about natural gas. That's a little bit more of a consumer thing, right? Heating your
Mhm,
house and cooking and whatever. So when you're talking about those, yeah, it'll be interesting to see that divergence between, right, people thinking this is going to slow down manufacturing and building things. That could be why the companies in the XLE and oil are going to be moving down. But then we have natural gas holding on very well. So it's really kind of where that energy, where you're getting that energy from, and then potentially what that energy is being used for. Uranium also has been selling, not as bad right off the open, but Yeah, and uranium has been getting a little bit of a hit there as well. So it seems like the productive energies, I guess, are selling, and then like the household energies are doing okay. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
We
I
can
think
keep it
solar is
moving.
probably going to get creamed. Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that one. That one's
solar
gonna.
always gets creamed. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, yeah. Feel bad for FSLR that was just starting to make a good trip back, right? It had made that trip and made it all the way back to 300. Now it's looking like it's going to give up all those gains. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens on those solar stocks. What about XLP too? Because that was interesting to me that was down also, right? Like it felt like everything went down with that move yesterday, and that's where it was just like kind of eye opening a little bit because like I was like, well, if it's just like where are they going to safety, right? And that's where I always look for. I'm looking at where are they going to, right? And so that's what I'll be watching a lot out the gate today. Is it going to be XLP closing in the green? Is it going to be the utilities? Is it going to be like where are they looking for safety? And I think that you're seeing
Bonds.
utilities kind of get a little bit of a
Yeah.
move up today. So that could be an area where they're looking at, but that's what I'm watching at. What do you think about that in that perspective for rotation?
Well, part of the problem, and again, this is why, I'm saying unless you understand all this, shut out the noise and follow price, because I don't know what percentage of McDonald's gets from foreign countries versus what's made normally, right? And McDonald's is considered a consumer staple, and generally speaking, a flight to safety. The problem is, will it be a flight to safety now? I have no idea, right? I don't know how much Philip Morris does locally, or whether they have to import this weird widget from right external. It's very much one of those things where you always got to think. I come into kind of trading every day, and I say, okay, where's my edge? I'll tell you where my edge isn't. It's understanding the foreign versus domestic imports of all these multinational corporations, right? And unless you do, you got to understand that there's an army of people over at Goldman Sachs right now going through that. So I have no idea, just because again, normally you're right, XLP and utilities, they act as flight to safeties, but in this case, they could be hurt worse, right? Let's take a software company, CrowdStrike, for example. CrowdStrike, in theory, I think, should be tariff immune because they just sell software, and there doesn't seem to be any tariff on software, and which makes sense. So is McDonald's going to be hit harder because of this than CrowdStrike? Again, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff out there that we can speculate on, but for me, it's just one of those things where because I don't know, I'm just going to let the market decide and follow price action. And for the only kind of big flight to safety I see going on right now, it's not even gold, it's bonds. And again, we talked about this with Steve there, that bonds for a while haven't become or weren't a flight to safety for the longest time, when people, because of the interest rates dropping at the same time the market was dropping. Now they are, right? So TMF is an interesting instrument to trade. It's plenty liquid. It's three times the daily 20-year treasury. So there's actually some juice to be had there, some things that you can trade. But we are up pretty big off the open. So it kind of did the reverse thing, right? Where if you look at the 30-minute candle, this was the spike in which the SPY was rallying. And then as the SPY fell apart, TMF ripped. And you got actually a really good percentage gain on this one. So bonds, as boring as it sounds, might be a good place to go. I know I've got a lot of money in bonds right
Yeah.
now, waiting for trends to develop. And then other than that,
TLT
I'm going to be
above. TLT is
yeah,
looking juicy, man.
yep. Yeah, so this TMF is three times the TLT. So
Yeah.
right, if you
Yeah.
want that juice, it's the market. It's the casino. So everything's got. So I'm adding this to my list of something to potentially trade today. If the market starts to rally, this might be a good one
Yeah.
to trade, and it's got pretty good liquidity on it um, for this bond instrument.
Yeah, my idea would be I'm looking for a lot of green to red moves today because I feel like the bearishness is definitely strong. So I'll be looking to see if this could maybe pull back there. Maybe we get back there towards support on the hourly. Maybe it's 46 or maybe it's 45, an opportunity on pullbacks for that TMF. We'll see what happens. ICCT. I saw that you mentioned in the chat there.
Yeah,
Just out on a
dangerous.
15-cent short there. All right. Taking that cash and running.
And then there
NMAX
was,
was a
yeah, it
crazy
was
one, man. What a
wild yesterday.
yeah, man. I felt like trying to short this thing. And it was I would have shorted it after hours uh on kind of Tuesday's action, but I felt like that was just it's a tough one, man. It's really tough. Like I want to come after some of these a little bit more and like maybe eval accounts just to trying to learn how I can handle something like that, right? How I can manage it. The only way you really learn it is by experience, I would say. And
Yeah.
that's one of the hardest things, right? It's like a paying experience. So try not to make it too expensive. That's what I say. Sometimes learning lessons will cost you some, right? But maybe it's just one share trading, right? One share trading. Yes, this could, hit you, but maybe it's 40 or $50. Nothing that will really kind of delete you from this earth, right?
Yeah.
And then just think about it that way. But I think it was an interesting, let's say, study, right? Like I know that you like to look
Yeah.
at these often and just think about them in that way, right? What could I have done? What could I have maybe used strategy wise to go about something like this?
And the only way to play would have been just, again, incredibly small size. And you didn't need much. In 200 shares, what would make like $500 on the trade. Now, it's one of those things. I think it's probably in chop mode now. I think it's going to frustrate both sides.
Yeah.
You have a
Now it's
lot.
tough. Now it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
If
So
if
this
you
is, I
can't
look at
get
that and say
the big
trade's
part of
over.
this move, or if you're stuck in the middle of this chart, that's where I get the most scared, right? Like I talk about
Yeah.
a lot of the times, like being a pig in charts is very difficult, and that's a part of it, right? Like one of the things that I always say is that if you're gonna be a bull, be a bull. If you're gonna be a bear. Try not to be in the middle game because that's really how
Yeah.
you get you get really crumbled and hit hard, right? Because there's going to be bounce backs in this, and it could still be a leak down, right? But there's going to be these quick little bounce backs that get these stops to get out of the trade essentially, and then they get hit right back down, and then the short's all mad, right? But that's just the way it goes a lot of the times. The liquidity is very difficult still. I'm still seeing about 75 cents. And remember, at one point, this was like $3 or $4 wide, right?
Yeah.
So that's just
Well, and it,
ridiculous to even
right,
trade,
it
even
will
think about.
likely, right, and the only reference I have for it is that HKD, that, it was the same. And the reason I pull this one up, because not only is it the same look of the move, but it was the same reason for the move, in which it was just a ridiculously low float that kind of got picked up by the internet for a bit. And
Yeah.
it went from $12 up to, and this isn't a split adjusted or anything, this actually happened, up to 2,500. Right? The same thing. It was a Chinese stock, I believe, that got launched, and it had a free float because there was one guy that owned a bunch of shares, but free float was just super tiny, and then got picked up by the internet, and then people started shorting it, and it squeezed against it, and it became this whole thing. And right, eventually, after it cracked, this is why I'm going back and looking at this. You can see it did nothing for long periods of time here, and just slowly kind of bled its way all the way back down, and now it's like a $5 stock or something. So probably the same thing's going to happen here, right? Where this company is just going to kind of bleed. But you're right; it's that big move is over. Now is where people who don't move on from these, I think, start to give a lot of money back, right? And that's something that you have to. If you were long and you got caught when it broke, sorry, but it's probably not going ever back to that price. And then if you miss the short, you can try, but the way I look at it now is just, it's like the move's done. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
shocked if it just spends the next 6 months just grinding its way back down to the IPO price. And something that, if you're short, you're holding, then maybe you hold on for that slow grind. But there's going to be a lot of wiggles around the way. I just think the big explosive move and the big crash, and both those things are done with. So now we're waiting, right?
Seeing some at least down hit coming in here on the XLF. XLF starting to leak out there, breaking through the lows now back towards 48.23s. An important area that I'll be watching because that they don't have that exposure, the same exposure that a lot of these other companies could say they have, right?
Yeah.
They still have some, but it's nowhere near, right? Like it's just more about investments and things like that. But I am seeing the XLF leaking pretty bad here.
Well, I think the big question is he going to tank the entire economy with this, right? And that's what
Yeah,
people are now going to.
that's
And if so,
that's
that
where I
would
think it's
explain why
important.
everything's down. Because you're right, it's if you're Goldman Sachs, you're not buying anything that they can tariff from any of these countries. So yeah, on paper you don't have anything, but then it's the whole systemic question of, okay, is there less deals
Mhm.
to be made? Is there this,
Yeah,
that, the other thing? It's why
is
again,
money and liquidity tightening up, right? And that's
right.
the concern, right?
Yeah. So it's like that's and again, those are all the reasons where I'm like, I don't know the answer to a lot of those questions. So this is
Oh
why I
yeah,
look at the
it's
market
the
in a very
conundrum day. Conundrum day.
systematic way.
It's the media's favorite day where they call everybody. You got an opinion? You want to talk? Come on.
Yeah. Come on. And we don't need to validate your opinion. We don't need to make sure you have any idea about what you're talking about. Just come on and start talking smack about the markets. So
Yeah, man. It's gonna be like that. I think another thing to look for is to see what companies have not maybe gone down or were on an uptrend and now the current environment doesn't seem as friendly for them. That's what I want to be looking for. Urban is one of those names that I might be shorting today. I've been talking about that name for a while. I think Under Armour is on my case also, but I think Under Armour might just go bankrupt. I really do think at some point Under Armour might just go bankrupt, and I feel bad because there was at one point where they were really turning things around. But hey, that's what happens sometimes when you overexpand. I think that's a story that will be told about Under Armour. You can expand a little bit too fast, too much, and we all know that's exactly what happened with Under Armour.
well, and the other thing that I think that everyone should be thinking about too is give it a couple days. Right? This is just day one. The market's gonna mess around for a while it figures out tariff winners and tariff losers and people take their bets and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's all
And
going to be
it's
about earnings. Let's be honest. It
yeah,
shifts to
so give
earning
it
focus, right, Michael? Because let's be honest. Like now, the shift will be, well, what happens to guidance moving forward from these companies, and that
yep,
takes a little bit. That doesn't come out today, right? And so I think that's the next major fundamental news that you'll be looking for from
right.
companies. Just to get things in perspective, right? Like price action is price action, but at the end of the day, we need to be looking also at the fundamentals of these companies now and how that is adjusting. Whenever you kind of like throw something in there that completely turns things around, like it could be a major gap day on technicals, all of a sudden the technicals seem different, right? Major gap down. Sometimes technicals can seem a little different just because it was a quick change, right? And so in this case, I was talking about it at the beginning today. I think that a lot of traders are thinking today's the day to trade and trade a lot. No, I think it's kind of being the opposite, right? I think today's more of a day to really figure out what is happening, not what am I taking actions to try to capitalize on the opportunity versus let me try to capture what is actually happening here in the present moment in the price action so that I can be ready in the next couple of days to take advantage, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, like
the,
let it settle. It's kind of like
let it play
I always
out.
look at the way it was described to me is you take a big stone, you throw it in the water, right? And you there's giant waves that come right after that, and those are the waves that are going to be the hardest to trade. And then after that you get the little ripples, and they might be little bit easier to trade, and then the market will settle down, right?
Yeah.
There's stuff like this that happens all the time. I just think it's one of those, right? You size down today, you stick to your plan, you keep doing what you do,
Oh,
you shut off the news, you come hang out with us instead, where we're going to talk about actual things that are moving in the market. And
yeah.
then from there, this time next week, we'll be talking about something completely different. There'll be a Fed event or there'll be something else going on, right? There's always something.
And I'll be looking around, guys. One of the things I'm going to do often is, especially out the gates here, I might take a like one smaller trade here, but what I'm looking at is more to look to see the action. I'll let you guys know what I'm seeing out there. One interesting stock that did get a lift right before the open here, Pepsi got a little lift there. I'm watching to see some defensive names to see what happens to them out the gates because XLP going
Buy
down
popping here
is
off the
definitely a little
open.
bit confusing there. Let's get after it, guys. 9:29. The market's about to open. I saw the VIX just kind of lead a little bit down. Let's go, guys. Let's get trading. Be safe out there and have some fun, guys. Let's do it.
And I'm actually going to watch a little bit of the futures as opposed to the SPY today. And the reason for that is I wanted to anchor a VWAP from this candle. These major event candles can be very, very important to slap a VWAP to. And so that's what I've done there, where that's this orange line. The thick orange line is the VWAP from that candle, and see what happens when we get there. So we're open. The first little move is up. We're still holding. So the main things I'm watching are the VWAP from that candle, and I'm watching this major low right here, which was the low of the panic sell, we could call it, where everyone was freaking out. That's where we were watching. So now I'm just kind of going through and I'm watching some of these names. So Tesla, for example, I got to set these alerts. I forgot, but yeah, Tesla going through this one. Is Nvidia going to bounce? And just looking for the ones that are really overextended, have a lot of emotions behind them, a lot of people freaking out. Nike, I have to load up Nike because that's already just ripping. So that might be a little bit too much to get started there right off the gate. But yeah, it's looking like these things might just pop off the open. So we gotta wait a little bit, right? We gotta watch this first 5 minutes,
Is your Tesla
see what happens. Yeah, Tesla's popping. Let's go through Palantir. I was also looking at, again, just the real big ones, just to see, hey, what's everyone really freaking out about.
Yeah, so one of the
in
things that I'm doing, Michael, is I did a little bit of a filter here for volume. Why? Because on a day like today, I want to know where the volume's at. What's getting traded heavily today is an important thing, I think, for me.
Yep.
Because I want to see trends, right? Like Bank of America and Nvidia are two of the leading stocks today. So of course it could be action in those stocks, right? Nvidia, right? First move up here to 104.50. So watching that, Apple, Amazon, Intel showing up there. So as one of those stocks, of course, Tesla showing up, Palantir, SMCI. So those types of names could be moving faster than some other names just because of the relative volume. It's about 3 or 4 times more than any other stock in the market. So those are the names that I could take a look at. What is an interesting one that shows up there is Lucid. I have no idea why the hell Lucid's traded 8.8 million shares today, but that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you're going to find a name that you're just like, what the hell? But just, you could toss it to the side unless you're seeing some crazy action off of it. Another small name moving today, ATPC. With a lot of volume. I've talked about how these small cap names, the only ones I want to watch are the ones with higher volume. So for me today, those two are ATPC and NIVF, but I'm not touching those smaller ones today, guys. Nothing in my wheelhouse at like the $3 spot. I'm starting to stay away from anything underneath $2, guys, just because the amount of share size that I need is too big and just opens up to too much risk.
Yep. Just quick answer to the question. So you pay the fee to get the account, and if you pass, you don't have to pay anymore. If you fail the account, then you have to pay. And there's different accounts now. If you're doing the one that has unlimited time, then you just pay once. The only time you have to pay again is if you blow up the account, right? If you fail the rules,
definitely
then you pay again for another account. So it's not a monthly thing. It's just more about, here's your account, and if you're able to pass it, then you're good to go. And if not, then yes, you gotta repay there. So first little pop is off Nike is very bullish. So getting through, I'm just waiting for the candle close. We have about a minute. It's a big candle though to risk off that pre-market low. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. SPY is rallying here right off the low. So it's one of those, if we look at the daily candle, so far it's buy it and buy it right off the open. So sometimes you get this initial close if you get a candle like that and it just goes. So I kind of hope that's not the case, because it would give me a chance to get something, to get Nike, or to get one of these things. But yeah, so far very bullish right from the open, and we'll see what happens from here. We'll see if we get a continued move. Could be one of those, doesn't give us a chance to get in. I just hope that's not the case. And 1 minute left. Do we have, just making sure? Yeah, we do. Nothing important. We have services PMI, which is a 3-star event that's coming up fairly soon. But you can see everything on my watch list. Whoa! So those are the alerts on the side here, and that is everything on my watch list has alerted that it's broken through its VWAP. So it's one of those. The smart money has come in when the market opens, and so far they're buying it up. They're buying it up hard.
Yeah, but what's leading the market, right? It's defensive areas, it's utilities, it's defensive, communications, healthcare. So it's all the areas that is scary to see going up, right? So you are still seeing the move there. So the Qs it's just components outside of tech, though. It's not tech that's driving the rally. That's one thing that I would state, at least from what I can see on the scanner right now, on the sectors itself.
Looking at some NVIDIA here. I'm gonna take some NV. I think I'm gonna do NVDL. That's the long one. So that's the only one that triggered and has a reasonable stop loss to take. So I'm gonna watch that one as well. NVDL. Yeah, just a lot of buying here off the open.
This is one name that could see a big hit, guys, that is getting destroyed right now. Garmin. So scientific technical instruments are seeing a massive hit down today. This industry would see a massive hit. Why? Massive exposure to China, right? A lot of these little chips and things like that come from China. So Garmin being a name that I am seeing with a big leak here out the gates.
All right, so I had my Tesla early. We talked about that just right off the open with I'm actually getting out of half of the position here, just because it's already at the 2-day VWAP. So that means the average price from today or yesterday is being met right here. And yeah, that's the reason, just to pair some off, because it's already been just a wicked trade. I got some Nike, and I'm not quite in NVDL, but I'm watching it really, really closely, which NVDL is just the NVIDIA double long ETF. But just taking some profits there on Tesla.
Missed that urban short out the gates there, guys. Down about $2 out the gates here, guys. It was one of my short watches here. It's already down almost 5% out the gates there. Urban, down she goes.
Nike, really. So I took Nike. I'm not too pumped about it, though, just because it's a big stop. So for me to even get a 1-to-1 on this one's gonna be hard. It's gonna have to get to the 2-day VWAP and do that kind of pretty quickly. But right, buying right off the open, nice green shoots on pretty much everything that I'm seeing anyway. Right, this is why down for the day, but up overall. Hood is another one that's interesting to me. It's one of those, if you want to think, well, why did this get hit so hard? Hood could be one to kind of think about that, because
look at the run in XLP.
You can only open up a Robinhood account in America. So
XLP, massive, guys, massive move there. I think that's something definitely signaling for me. That's a strong move out the gates for the XLP. That's a 2.45% for the XLP out the gates here today.
Yeah, pop.
That's pretty strong. I mean, you don't see the XLP do that move. Costco's helping that. Kroger's is helping that. Monster, General Mills.
2.3% on Procter and Gamble.
Yeah. Pepsi up. Philip Morris, Tyson Foods, Colgate Palmolive. So a lot of your dividend search, right? Communication services also tells me that too. A lot of
Well, and
these
you would
stocks
think,
search for dividends.
and this is why I just have no idea about any of this tariff stuff. You think the people who make the things are probably importing a lot of that, right? Coca-Cola is obviously a super
Now,
capital intensive business, right?
I would say this that like some of these actually make things here in the United States. Like Procter Gamble has a lot of things that they make here in the United States, so that could see a continued
Okay.
upside pressure to the move. Right? You have to really look inside here. That's another thing that I would
Yeah.
say. Another thing is this isn't given. You have to really look into companies' reports to
5.
understand their exposure to different areas. It's not like you look into a company like, let's say, Dollar Tree, and they're like, we have 62% exposure to China. They don't give you that percentage. They just give you that they are exposed to China, that they have exposed to currency exchange, but not how much, right? And that's the
Well,
hardest
then
part.
you always need to remember too where the if they're selling to those countries, that's currently not tariff that bad, right? That could change in a minute. It's more of if they're buying from that country, that's where the problem remains with them. But
Oh,
yeah, so a little bit of
man.
pullback here on the SPY, but massive just buy off the open. So we'll see. Tesla really running, which has been great.
Two
Took
names
some
that
profits
I missed
there.
on the short: Victoria's Secret and Urban. Victoria's Secret popped to 18, right back down to 17.
My Nike is just not doing anything. I'm going to give this one, I think, just another bar or so. And if we don't get a push above these highs, I'm just going to kill it. And this is the reason I don't like it, just to explain to people. It's not because I don't like the trade. It's just the risk reward is kind of just like a 1-to-1. I'm risking the low of the day here, and then there's a 2-day VWAP. So it's just, it's like sometimes you just don't like the risk reward on the trade. Nvidia, I'm still watching. It technically triggered there with the rest of the world. I just want to see it hold up just a little bit. But yeah, so far we've had a pop.
Guys, short a
Now we're
little bit of
resting.
on.
You gotta see what's going on here. On.
Gotta be careful with this one. Of course, this one could be moving also with Nike, so it did move up here, but I'm looking to see if we can reject right back down here.
Yeah, so far we go to the Qs. Right, we're up off the open, a little bit of pullback so far. Meta not doing well. Apple hitting new lows. So yeah, very much one of those mixed markets. Right? Things are either rocketing higher or exploding. So right, just focus on what it is that you're trading. Focus on the price action of it.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just looking at relative strength, relative weakness. So I want to be long things like Tesla that are showing relative strength. I want to be out of things that would be making new lows right now. Keeping it focused to what's doing the best.
Yeah, I missed 2 plays, so that I might be jumping into this on, but I'm jumping on it, trying to see if it rejects 40. 40 is a big spot, but it could go back there before it rejects. So you're still seeing some up and down action on this one. Definitely liked Urban and Victoria's Secret. Just didn't jump on them out the gates there. Was looking around. VIX starting to get another little bounce back here. SPY did go up, but didn't go far for me at least. Didn't get back over the 550 spot. That's where I'm watching for 550 spot. We just went to the 9 EMA on the hourly and we kind of rejected there. Looking around to see what else is making moves out there. Let's do the last 5 minutes, see if there's anything that's changing in the trends. Trends still remaining. The only thing I would say is healthcare is a little back and forth. Utilities, defensives, and communication services still leading the market.
Yeah,
technology is actually going down. It's kind of interesting. Technology is moving down here, yet there's some names that are moving up. Why is it moving down? Computer systems are just getting
destroyed right now, guys. That's where I see a lot of destruction out in the market right now.
Yeah, a lot
Led
of
by Dell. Look at Dell. Oh my God, Dell is getting destroyed out there. Logitech, Corsair Gaming, the one that you were talking just a little while back, it's taking a big hit there. Computer Systems. Dell is a big bleed out though. That's a big hit there on Dell.
Well, this is one of those, right? You know that last night they brought in everybody, all of the interns in Goldman Sachs were given Red Bull or meth or whatever and told to go through the financial statements of all of these companies.
It's just Adderall, man. It's just Adderall.
Yeah, sure. They just get it from the street corner and they go, listen, you just graduated. We're not paying you anything. You're staying up all night and you're reading 34 financial statements.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those. It's a very Christmas tree look here, right? So energy is getting hit. Health technology is doing okay. Finance is mixed. And technology is down. So it'd be one of those days that I bet you if you look at the RSP versus the SPY, the RSP is doing a little bit better. Yeah, and the SPY is pulling back a little bit here. So first initial surge was up, and then ever since then we've just been chopping around. So yes, there's an economic number coming out, and it's ISM services, so it's a decently large one. I just don't think the market really cares about a lot of these numbers right now. It's literally this kind of tariff. This tariff, are we buying or are we not buying? Which is the tariff winner, which is the tariff loser? That's what the market's really concerned with. So
HPQ is and then another one, right? It goes right with Dell, and man, that's a hard hit down, 250 down out the gates there. I'm getting the squeeze on and on. Probably gonna get cut out here, guys, in just a second. What the heck? All right, there you guys have it set to stop there and on. Probably going to get stopped out. At least it doesn't seem like it's turning around right now. Victoria's Secret was definitely one of those that I should have gone out the gates there now, man. Looking back at it, I'm just going to get frustrated because it's now down to 1635s. That could have been an easy short, even at 17. So a little frustrated on that action. Urban also, man. Those two names should have just nailed that trade. That's just on me. Bad execution.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with this Victoria's Secret and everything if they hold these. Because right, we're back at the March, and this is how I've been kind of ranking every stock that I own and every stock that I look at. Is how are you doing compared to those March 2025 lows, right? Which is March 11th, so roughly a month. So this is at a price that was at about a month ago. Are we holding those? So that's why I liked Tesla so much, just because it's so much above that particular low. So yeah, and then you take something like Urban, I think is right. That is already cracking that low, and just comparing those things, right? How are we compared to that particular low? Qs, again, selling a little bit, relatively weak here on the Qs, but still holding the low of this opening drive. So I'm watching that to see. And then of course we have a pretty significant low down here. As long as we're holding those lows, that to me is what's going to be interesting about the market. Nike, again, at the end of this 5-minute candle, if it doesn't get going, I'm just going to kill, just because it's not doing anything. I'm looking for, again, with these moves, this setup that I have, it should be a pretty immediate push, right? These things should just go if they are overextended. And again, I just don't like Nike because of how extended that particular candle is.
All right, I'm back to like pretty much break even here, but might get out of it, guys. On. It's kind of just moving all around here.
Yeah, the SPY is just way calmer off the open than I was expecting. Right, we had the opening drive and then just nothing. We've just been chopping around here, so it feels like it's one of those where it's not a it's not a chop because nobody cares. It's a chop because everybody cares. So again, we always got to remember when we're looking at the overall market, it's a basket of stocks. We have some stocks today that are being declared tariff winners, and we have some stocks that are being declared tariff losers. And you're getting, right, some stocks going up, some stocks going down. So the market will be choppy in those events, right? The market moves when it's a everything rally or an everything sell off, and that's just not what we're getting, at least not right now. And Nike coming down just a little bit here. So yeah, I'll probably kill this one if it closes under VWAP here. My Tesla's holding on okay, so that might be one, right? You trim the weeds and you let the flowers grow. So you take whatever's not working, you get rid of it, and then you keep whatever's working in your portfolio, and hopefully it continues to go there, because this Tesla is looking, and again, I'm in TSLL instead of TSLA, but you can see Tesla, massive push off the open, a little bit of a pullback, and now is starting to look like it could potentially hold on there. NVIDIA is the other one that I have. I've bought some of that one as well. Again, risking the lows against all of these, and that one's doing okay. I'm about flat on that. Nice win on NVIDIA, and then Nike just not doing well on Nike. Again, I just don't like, it's not a huge loser, because again, I'm risking all the way to down here. I just don't like that I have to risk that far with the 2-day VWAP coming in. Now it's probably like a negative R play. It's not even a 1-to-1 anymore. It's probably like a 0.75 to 1. And those just aren't a lot of fun. So, but overall, for the people who are looking for kind of extreme action today, we're not really getting that. Little bounce in the SPY again, but we're still stuck within this particular range. Insult to injury would again be this news event that's coming up in 9 minutes. Maybe that will kick us out, get us moving, but just kind of chilling.
All right, let's see if these moves go green to red now. That's what I'll be watching for as we get closer towards 10.
Yeah, we do have, again, it may be a market moving event at 10. I don't know if I would bet on that, but
So I just cut a little bit there, guys. Cut a little bit to protect myself. Just took like a $40 hit there just to size down a little bit and make sure that I'm at least being careful here, because it's not getting to move and it's just hanging out above my entry, essentially in the red. And whenever something's hanging out in the red for me, it's just looking to kind of get going there. So that's a good sign for Nike too, right? But honestly, it was just kind of like picking the wrong one today, guys. If I were on Victoria's Secret, I'd literally be almost done for the day. I'd probably be done. Urban, I'd be done for the day. Like, that was the move, man. Urban short. I'm gonna hate myself on that one. I ain't gonna lie. That one's a little FOMO to me.
NVIDIA's doing well. We got the 2-day VWAP well ahead. So again, I don't know if I'm going to respect those today of all days, but so far it's been a great day, right? You know, Nike didn't work out too well, but didn't move, right? It's because I think this candle was just too wide. Could go later, but just not really interested. So Tesla worked great. NVIDIA worked great. So a couple tech names that are doing well. It's the thing I like about this particular setup. Even Apple is starting to turn around here, so might be one of those look to buy. Could have made my life easier, right? And just bought the S&P 500 as it broke through that candle. But again, I want to see a resolution of this range, right? So this is the opening range that we're seeing right here. We're seeing 544. And then 548, and we're just between that zone. Again, this 541, 542, that's the ultimate level. If we look at the futures, I want to keep looking at the futures to keep an eye on because this is the VWAP right here from the news, the earnings event, right? I was talking to my buddy Brian Shannon. He's like, yeah, for Fed events, for big economic news like that, anything that makes a candle that's this insane, you slap a VWAP to that, and then you can play around that, because you know that's where there's a lot of emotions that are in that area. So if we hold that and start to push higher, then could be a nice face ripper type day. Don't think we'd get green on the day or anything like that, but if we came kind of back up into this area, I think there'd be a lot of good trades to be had there to the long side. And if it fails and then we break this wick down here, this pre-market low, then it could just be more fears. And then obviously the third option is we don't do anything, right? We just spend the day here.
Big starting to make a little bit of a move here back. We'll see if it takes a move to 58 here, and the SPY can break the 1 hour candle. The 1 hour candle is an important one for me to watch today. It has a resistance around 548 and support around 544. If you look on the pre-market, it's kind of the pre-market action too. We haven't broken from the pre-market action on the SPY.
There's hood, so I may add hood here. You just saw the alert come through, and a green arrow gets me a little better price than the first green arrow. The risk is 37.90. This is all going to depend on, all of these I think will depend on the SPY. And if the SPY turns around and breaks those lows, then all these things will probably lose, and then vice versa. They might all turn around and be a wicked day. This is, again, one of the rare benefits of the people who are solely day traders. Came in today in cash, had a whole bunch of capital to kind of buy stuff up. And yeah, things like Nvidia
XLF,
and Tesla,
new
anyway,
low.
Great little trades.
XLF, new lows, financials dropping fast there. XLE dropping fast also, new low on that. Here we go.
Okay,
Trying to get some action.
Low of the day on the SPY. Still well above this kind of pre-market zone, which I think is even more important than the regular trading hours. And I don't say that much just because this was very important, right? Some big guys kind of stepped in here and bought things. So just to see if they can hold it there. Nvidia pulling back just a bit, but still up from the trigger, and actually holding on really, really well. And then we have Tesla. This has been kind of the best I've seen today anyway. So I took a little bit off that, and those are the only two things that I'm holding right now. I'm watching this hood, but right, the SPY's kind of got me a little bit spooked just because it's starting to move down to those lows.
A lot of retail that I can say did not play well today. Skechers straight leaked down to another name that could have maybe been something I attacked.
People still use Skechers?
That's the idea there. And they get majority of their shoes definitely not made here in the United States. I'll tell you that much. They throw USA in their name just to try to help people think that the shoes come from there, but it don't come from there. I'll tell you that much.
I just don't know if I've ever seen anyone since I was like a teenager wear Skechers shoes. I didn't know they existed still.
Yeah, here in the US, they still got the reason why is that they're just cheap. Let's just be honest. They're just cheap.
Oh, okay.
They're just cheap. So they stick around because they're cheap. Burke also.
Europe versus Vietnam.
Man, I tell you, man, today's one of those days where I should be more on top of things, at least on a day like today. I feel like it's just harder to do it and then also take a look around the market and stuff. Just got to be ready. Had some orders ready for today.
Systematic trading, automated orders, right? That's the key.
Yeah, and for Urban, the spread, like when they first opened, was super wide, and out of nowhere it tightened down. And now when it wasn't when I was looking at it, the first 1 minute candle, it had like a spread of like 60 cents. And I was looking around, and as soon as I went back to it, it had already gone through the 48. So it was like 3 minutes into the market. And at that point, I hate chasing. So I need some type of bounce, right? So I either needed to short just the opening action there, or look for the bounce. Victoria's Secret is more the chart that I like, which is a 15 bounce to resistance and rejection. Nvidia holding on. I made money on shorting Nvidia yesterday afternoon and in the nighttime. I shorted it around like, I would say like 5:36, and I wrote it down towards like 8. Covered like right before 8 p.m. But we'll see what happens, guys.
But no, I'm in because I'm in TSLL and NVDL. So Nvidia and Tesla. Both those things are paying pretty well. And Nike, I'm glad I just killed out of. Again, this is time stops could be a whole thing we do a lesson on. It's just I bought it right here, and then 3-4 candles, it's just not going. So kill that, and then keep things like Nvidia, where I bought it right in here, and then it was actually at that same time making new highs. So just looking at, again, relative strength, relative weakness is, I think, a way to play today. You could be one where you could be crazy enough to know where all this stuff is, and if so, good for you. You got a great advantage today. For me, it's just the market knows. So like what you were talking about with Urban there, right? These obviously are being classed as a URBN, a tariff loser, right? And Dell, you talked about, or was it HPQ, right? So that's being looked at as a tariff loser. Then you look at Apple, they're saying, okay, well, this isn't going to be as bad, right? And then the market, again, this is what it does, is a really good job of telling you where the good companies are and where the bad companies are when you're looking at kind of any individual event. So let's take a look at the SPY. Again, just not, of all days that I'd say,
hey, coming back to the highs.
Of all days that I'd say, hey, we're not moving too much. We're not doing. I don't know if is it just the chart that zoomed into the chart. We got a range of about 1% today. That's not a huge range for what I thought would happen, right? With popped onto Twitter for a couple seconds yesterday, and everyone was losing their mind. I was like, oh, we're gonna have a crazy action day. Instead, we're just kind of hanging out.
VXX just broke through the high, pre-market high, 58.53.
So yeah, that's interesting that we're getting that move in the VIX, but we're not getting the associated sell-off with the market.
One thing to note, only sector I would say that's in the green from the open is defensive. Even communication services is just slightly up now. It's almost into the red from the open. What's leading the downside action is a surprising one. Cyclicals I kind of understand, but basic materials are down 2.05%. Cyclicals down 2.06%. Areas getting destroyed, of course, apparel manufacturing, department stores, the names that we talked about, footwear and accessories, luxury goods, home furnishings, leisure. Remember I talked about how maybe the Royal Caribbean trade coming off. There it is, dropped through the 200, now down to the 192.
Royal RCL, right?
Hey, we'll see American Airlines getting hit. The airlines taking a little bit hit.
Yeah. So again, this is the day to look at relative strength. So you look at something like Nvidia and you say they're not hitting Nvidia. So why? Right? You don't really need to know. You just need to know that it's relative strength. What I wouldn't be buying is the names like the Urban, right, that are selling off the open. That's not something that's interesting to me to get involved in, because they're hitting it, right? So any rally on that one, people could sell into. But the market overall is just kind of hanging out, right? It's this wick right here that we're watching to see if this panic move is continued with a second leg down, or whether things are going to hold, or right, are we going to just chop around here all day, which it's looking like we could. We had that other economic event came through already. Should I refresh that? Yeah, so that already happened. Jobless claims, all that. So yeah, there's nothing but like nat gas coming up next, which no one really cares about. So there we are. We're getting closer to that low. I would expect to be a lot of stop losses in this area that could get triggered. So I would be a little bit, paying attention there. just to see. I wouldn't expect, a massive someone to step in and start buying with both feet here. What I'm looking to see is, do we undercut that low now that we're kind of near there? Do we undercut that low and then we start to get buying from there? Because if so, that could be a little bit of an interesting trade. Even the high flyers today, the ones that were holding on, Nvidia pulling back a little bit, TSLA pulling back a little bit more. So again, I'm just trying to keep an eye on what's being relatively strong in the market, what's being relatively weak, and then trying to kind of decide my fate accordingly, right? Try to look for the things that are going to bounce the best if the market bounces, based off of how well they're doing when the market is selling here.
Yeah. All right, VIX jumped through that 58.53 now. So I'm looking for the SPY to break the low here. And we'll see if it breaks the low. 543.07 approaching fast here. We hit 543. So we essentially already just broke that opening action. Let's see if we actually close below that on a 15-minute candle.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm really watching this low tick right here. I think will be the most interesting one. At this point, I would kind of expect to see a push through that and then a reversal, if there's going to be any above that. It would kind of surprise me at this point if we just bounce from here, as opposed to at least testing. Because you got to imagine there's a lot of stop losses that are going to exist under that tick right there.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that would be my
right, guys,
bet if I were to have one.
I put a stop at just a little bit near break even here. I might get out and then the move actually happened, but it's just back and forth here on, and it's hanging out right by the VWAP. Could get taken right back through that 39, and I'm not trying to see that, at least. So giving it a really tight risk, and then just going to try to see if it can really break that 38.50s here. So that's on here. We'll see what happens. You can see right here how I rejected the VWAP. I'm okay with that. Have the stop at 74 right now, which is about $14 of risk. But you guys see it, 300 shares here. I'm in the green, but I need the action to go quickly to 38 here, not back up towards 39.
Yeah, and I think all of this will depend on the SPY, right? If we lose that low tick from yesterday and just continue to sell, then there'll probably likely be continued weakness. If we hold that and start to bounce from there, it could be a little bit of a push higher. Not a lot.
All right, break even now. Break even setup now. In a second here, if I can get a nice little drop, I don't mind taking some profits, guys. There we go. Nice little move there. I'm up about 54. I want to give myself a cushion. I just want a little bit more because I did take a $40 loss there. There we go. Towards the 39s. There we go. 38.40s. Now we're talking, guys. Just looking for another little tick here. Get to 38s on the 15-minute pullback. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah,
all right, not getting much. A little bounce, if anything. So I might just take the cash here. All right, taking the cash there, guys. I just want to take the cash and just get myself back into the green and battle today, guys. Battle. So on could bounce back there to 39 and then reject. So that's what I'm going to kind of play here, is that it gets some a little buying here, gets these stops out, and then gets the takedown. Because I think we could get a little bounce here on the SPY, and I'm seeing it already. So let's see an attempted washout on the opposite side, right? Because now you just broke through the low, you triggered some stops, you get some bounce back, some covering, and then now I want to see if it goes for the whoosh type of look.
Yeah, again, I would be surprised if the SPY doesn't at least test that wick and see what liquidity's below that. If we just bounce from here, I'd be a little bit surprised. Again, anything could happen, but just keep going through this list of the ones that were the biggest pre-markets. Nvidia is holding on really strong. It's doing great there. Tesla gave up the ghost a little bit, ended up getting just stopping out the rest of that. Nike's still right where it was. Palantir was actually holding on really, really well here on Palantir. We're not only above yeah, we're now above yesterday's low on Palantir. So Palantir's been holding on great. This is what, when I'm looking for swings too, is the other thing is, I'll take a couple day trades today, but I'm looking for swings. Palantir might be a great little swing.
What's up? What's up? How we doing in the chat out there? I see some new faces out there. It's that type of day. It's time to make some money. XLE breaking through the lows. XLF breaking through the lows. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. SPY trying to break through the lows. On might have ran to it a little bit too fast here. It's going for the low here. What I was looking at was more this 9 EMA coming back into play. That's 38. There's still 30 cents there. But maybe just a little bit too much size, ran through the pressure. Another thing that was a part of it is I've been trying to get back towards that break even, and I was down about 46, so I just wanted to cover there. But this should have been more of the play here towards the 38s. I saw 38.17 show up there. Now it's going down a little bit further. That could start to break different plays out there. There's 38.24s now. Tesla coming back there also. Remember, I talked about 250 needs to let go first. So I think I'll just let it play out there. XLF, though, really losing altitude. Now down to the 48s, and this has no reason for it to be down. That's where my concern really is in the market. XLP is some names that I'll be looking for VWAP pullbacks to see how that gets played. Interesting one that's going up is Dollar Tree and holding VWAP here. So complete opposite of what you think of there with that one. 5 below, though, I've talked about it. It sure as hell might need to change its name to 750 below real soon, because the margins are coming for this one for sure. This one taking a bleed out the gates today. And there's on to 38.10. So definitely I would say I ran to the cash too fast there. I should have been holding towards the 38s. But it's a fast mover, and it was a bullish setup kind of rejection, right? So that's where it gets a little bit harder, but this one ran to the cash a little bit too fast.
SPY is getting close to flirting with that tick, right? So again, this to me is the most interesting price in the whole market right now, is what happens. Again, I would be surprised when you see an obvious area like that and the market starts to move towards it. The odds that it's not going to flush that is really, really high. But then the question is, right, is that it, right? Do we flush it? Do we continue kind of trending down on the day? Or is that one of those kind of liquidity snap up things where they try to flush the low, and then that's where the real guys start to get involved to buy it up? Again, seeing the bifurcation of the market's really interesting. So again, Nvidia is holding on super well. It's well above VWAP. It's well above its pre-market low comparison to everything else. Tesla, even though we're getting a bit of a pullback there, well above these lows. So very much one of those. I am super excited with this market because it's just going to show me where the relative strength is. You're going to be able to go and pick out at the end of the day. You're going to be able to go through and say, these are the ones that held their lows, and these are the ones that gave it up with everything else. And then you're just going to be able to build yourself a nice little portfolio of stocks that shrugged off the news.
It's also going to show you the weakness out there. Take a look at the ITB and look at the down action there in the home construction area, right? That area is going to feel a lot of pressure. Toll Brothers coming down, right? Those types of names, right? Some of the obvious trades are pretty obvious today on the action. I think there's going to be some that are going to be like making you shake your head. And I'll tell you one thing, I definitely will be shaking my head because freaking Urban just bid down action. Doesn't even want to come back, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Mitch, what are you doing?
So we're right at the price there. We're just flirting perfectly with that price.
That 38 for on. This is where I should have covered right here. 38. It was about $1 down from the action, which was a good risk to return for about the money that I risked there. So what happens is I took a little bit more of that 1-to-1 trade, and that's not me, man. I got to keep going for that 2-to-1, 3-to-1 look. I took a 1-to-1 look there, and it's costing some of the gains there, right? So now I expect a little bounce back and on. But that's just because it was a 15-minute kind of support on the 9 EMA. So I'm looking to see if we can bounce back to 38.50s, and then we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, so flirting with the lows here on
Victoria's Secret.
flirting with the lows on the SPY. It's the overall market is just way calmer than I would have expected, to be honest today.
That's just rotation. That's just rotation underneath the what you're seeing. This is what this would be ETF effects, right? Where something needs to get bought, right? So what's getting bought up is what you need to be asking yourself, right? So something is getting bought. And you know what the interesting one is? Here you go. Look at this.
For solar. Yeah, sure.
First Solar is the one getting bought, Michael. 6% up. 6% up.
They must have they must build all their stuff here or there in the US. So good for them.
So there's what we talk about is there's this thing called like ETF effects, right? Where something needs to kind of rotate into. And so a lot of times when you see the queue down, what do you see? You see the defensive areas in the queues up, right? And so that's what I'm looking at. Is it just rotation within the ETF and technology not really leading the drive back, right? That's where I'm looking at technology and I'm watching this, and we are down from the open. So we'll continue to watch that area. Still the areas of disaster, computer systems, and scientific technical instruments. Seeing really hard hits there.
May add a little bit. I rarely do this, but let's grab this. The relative strength here in Nvidia has just been crazy. It just doesn't give up VWAP, isn't selling off at all, even though the market's flirting with lows here. And again, this is the stuff that I'm watching, is what isn't selling when the market is selling. That's the, again, easiest, I hear all the time, okay, yeah, we know relative strength is great, but how do you identify it? Well, SPY is at lows of the day. Nvidia is at highs of the day, right? You don't make it too much more complicated than that. So Tesla, right, selling off a little bit, still holding. So this is one that I may look to get back in if we can get back through VWAP there. But I am still in Nvidia, but it's just insanely well how this thing's holding. So it makes me want to get out of that. And then right when I saw Nike sell off, I got out. But we're going to get back through VWAP. I might give this one another shot because, Mitch has been showing you a lot of retail companies that are doing poorly. And Nike's holding. It's holding its lows anyway. It's actually holding compared to the SPY here. So we did break that tick. I would have expected more than like 5 cents down to actually like classify as like a liquidity sweep. But if that's what we're getting, then that's what we're getting. So we need to see what's happening after that. But so far, we broke that and we're bouncing again. So
on right back to 38.77. So right back to the VWAP. That's what I was a little bit concerned about of the bounce at 38s, and it was a good look to cover in that area if it was a cover area, right? And so the 15-minute 9 EMA. Kind of a look on that. We'll see if we reject VWAPs here on VWAP recoveries, right? So look for that action there. Are you rejecting VWAP or are you holding above it? I think that's a really good look to look at.
Yep. So that's why, again, Nvidia, this thing is going to be my target here. If we can get something like NVDL to hold well, then that's great. I think that's a decent little trade to make there. And, again, we just know that if the market bounces, the idea is that the things that are relatively strong will bounce more. If the market sells off, the things that are relatively weak will sell off more. And that's why we're looking at this, is where do the emotions come from, as opposed to, that's one of the advantage we have as stock traders, right? We can look to see relative strength and relative weakness.
All right, seeing the SPY here. Are we going to go right back to the lows, or are we going to work our way back up? I'm going to go for a trade here on just 100 shares to see if we can get right back down towards the support. But I'm going to try to keep it tight here, about $15 of risk. Keep it tight. If it comes back, let it go, and just see if I can make a little bit more cash on this. If it starts to break the 38.50s, I could add there. But I need to see the SPY break through the lows. I need to see the VIX break through the highs, and we're attempting that move right now.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a bounce there after, again, I don't even know if I want to classify that as a break. I think it's a couple cents lower than than the tick. So, you know, I'm looking to see if there's an actual break, like a couple 5-minute sell down, something kind of scares people, and then looking to pop back up just to see if what's going on, like if we're actually going to scare the market. Again, Nvidia, things like Robinhood, these are holding okay if we're comparing versus the pre-market lows. Again, that's the list that I'm making, is what is not even getting close to the pre-market lows. That's the things that I'm going to buy if the market reverses, right? Not things like what Urban that just continues to sell off, right? Pre-market lows way up here. So, right, it's just, you know, find your strength.
I say find things also with the exposure that you're not too exposed on, right? Like at the end of the day, these retail names are exposed that you can go and pick in there. But I think that if you're looking at elsewhere, I'm looking at names. I like names in the XLP just because of the way that the XLP is just holding here. So if there's some rotation going to staples, that's still play to be played, right? It's not the sexy name. It's definitely something to watch. XLU pulling back here towards the 79, I think is also interesting with the market action that you're getting, right? The SPY breaks the low here. We'll see if the utilities can bounce there, but it is pulling back. Went up to 80. So you're talking about a nice dollar back, a little bit over on risk to return. It could be about 20 cents for a dollar move. Not a bad 5-to-1 look on the XLU.
Yeah.
Duke the Fool coming in here with a message. He's saying, I'm looking at the 3-bar plays on the 5 minutes when price comes to a previous support. Look at 11 on SoFi right now. So he's talking about this move on SoFi. I'm in the green here with the on guys. It did flush right back down. So now I can be break even, look to get a little bit more cash, see if it can break through the low of the 38s and then go down further. And so this was kind of a rejection of a bullish play. We'll see if it breaks through the 38 low.
All right. So yeah, we're finally under that wick now in the markets. Yeah. Took its sweet time, but yeah, we're finally under there now.
XLI rejecting new lows there, and XLF new lows, XLE new lows. So starting to see some sectors really go here. The real concern for me, if the defensive area gives up, if the XLP gives up, it could be an ugly day, guys. XLP, I think, is the only thing holding us up right now, at least from the sector wide that I can see.
Yeah, holding.
It's down in the last 5 minutes too. Everything's down in the last 5 minutes. So that just goes to show us.
Look at this. Nvidia is doing really, really well here. So.
Yeah, there's what I think what you're seeing also, Michael, is what I think is expected in this environment, which is what stock pickers environment. If you pick the wrong stock, you're gonna bleed, and so you have to be making sure, at least from what I'm hearing from your conversation, right, is that you're not picking losers trying to make them winners today, right?
Yeah, and no, so, it's what's holding on, right? And again, I think the easiest way to do that is it holding VWAP, or more importantly, is it holding the pre-market low? Anything that is below the pre-market low, I'm not interested in anymore. Just completely off the list. Anything that's holding the pre-market low, or like Nvidia is just holding up really strongly, that's making the list of things that potentially I could buy later, right? So even Nike, right, holding its pre-market low, that's something I could buy later. Palantir doing amazing, holding its pre-market low, so that's something I could buy later. Robinhood, a little bit less, but yeah, still holding its pre-market low, so I could buy that one as well, right? So
how's Bitcoin doing? That's a good, it's good. Like
Bitcoin, the relative strength here in Bitcoin has recently on the daily chart has been amazing, right? We have the lows here that happened in March and well above, whereas if we go to the SPY, we take the lows in March and we're well below. So yeah, Bitcoin, surprisingly enough, has actually been relatively strong. It's been one of those things where it's generally speaking, you get the opposite, right? You get Bitcoin as this big event that ends up pushing one way or the other more so than the market. It's just a risk on or risk off metric. But yeah, Bitcoin's been holding well. And again, we're down a little bit here on the overall market. So that's super interesting to me how well Bitcoin's been holding. So that's, I think, one of the reasons that Robinhood could be a place to look at, because Robinhood's going to have some correlation to Bitcoin. Just the question is can these dig in? So as these dig in, I'm just making a list, and then anything that gives way, it's time to go. Right. So we have Nike or Nike holding on, Nvidia holding on, Tesla, Palantir, Hood, and then I'll probably just be a big basket buy. Give me some sort of lift up in the market now that we've broken that low, and then I'll probably just buy a bit of all of them, then walk away. Right.
SPY
we
pressuring the lows here.
Yeah, we're under that level. And this would be enough that if we got to buy in this area now, I would consider that kind of liquidity sweep. So,
VIX new high. SPY hasn't broken the low, but the VIX did just right there. So I'm looking at the 541.60 here, looking to see if we break that. There's the VIX jumping a little bit more. So expecting at least some type of action here to go ahead and profit into.
Yeah, that ICCT is ripping. It's another place to go, right? Is understand that these little tiny low float junky names, they don't care about the market. They don't care about tariffs. This whole company's probably not going to be around the next couple weeks, so it doesn't really care about tariffs. So these are just pure speculation, momentum type vehicles. So it's something to keep an eye on. So there's a SPY back above that price. So that makes Nvidia a little bit more tempting here as it's starting to break. So we're picked up some Nvidia, added to some there just to potentially take a little bit of a move. Just it's been so strong, right? I've been long Nvidia since right in this area. And again, I'm long NVDL, which is just a leverage version of Nvidia, and just trying to see if we can get midway back into the pre-market range. Might be an interesting place to take it. A lot of these names are starting to bounce now. So we have Tesla digging in.
I'm out.
We have Nike digging in. We have Palantir digging in, and we have Robinhood.
SPY big bar on that bottoming attempt. So you got a wick bottom there. Did not break the low there. The VIX did break the low. Now a little bit of a bigger candle back there at the 543. We could be starting to do a little bit of a mean reversion move back to 545. Let's see if we get back there. Still not going to get bullish until I get to above 550s on the SPY, but it nice little bounce at least from the bottom.
Yeah, and this is kind of what we were looking for, where, right, as we were selling off, I was saying, okay, I would be shocked if we didn't challenge this low. Now that we did, the question is, are there buyers there, right? You flush these lows, and the reason the market flushes these lows is because there's generally a lot of people put stops in obvious places. So the question is, is this just a further trend down, or was that the market just saying, I want some liquidity so that I can buy the market pretty big? And generally speaking, to get that, you want a pretty explosive move off the lows. So you want the next 5 minutes to kind of confirm big push after big push after big push. You don't want it to retest. If it retests, that's probably just not a liquidity grab. It just needs to chop. And then B, you want the people to start to chase it higher. You want those people to start having to move higher.
That Gap taking a major hit today. Macy's down to 1132, so that one bounced to 12 and got hit again towards the 1130s. You guys know how I feel about Macy's. They might as well just start putting the bankruptcy stickers on the windows.
Oh, Macy's.
Yeah, today's definitely one of those days that ICCT, man. I will tell you, Steph, today's one of those days where I'm personally avoiding the small caps because I think there could be a lot of manipulation in those names today. So it seems like you got hit with something on ICCT for a max loss. Seems like it's that type of day. On is being a very hard trade for me today, guys. I will say that the action is making me stop out. So they literally came and stop hunted me there. I'm sure I wasn't the only one shorting around the 38.50s. It came right back to 38.60s there, and it's right back to 38. So that tells me more and more. They got the traders that were short, and now they're coming and bringing it back down, washing it right back down to the 38s. This could have been a great winning trade for me today. Bad execution on my part. I call out myself when I'm not trading well, guys. And definitely today's one of those days where I'm on the right side. I'm seeing the right trades and still not making the good money. I'm only up $28. not trading well. So at this point, it's like, do I push? Do I push? I don't know, man, but I can tell you right now, I've taken really great trades and not made money. So that's not good. So we'll see what happens with that. On now breaking through the low. This could have been another like 80 to $100, right? Just stopped out on the bounce there.
Right. The other thing, Steph, is this is an unprecedented day, right? This is a big day. So, to have a daily stop loss hit and to be able to leave the computer screens and go do something isn't the worst thing in the world today, right? This is a big day. So, right, taking some time for yourself and taking a little bit of a breath is probably a good thing. And tomorrow you'll come in, the market will have priced all of this craziness that's just happened, and then we can start to see some more real trends, and your crazy low float junky names will probably be back in play.
Here's one of those household productive defensive names that will get hit is SD Slaughter, and it's getting the slaughter right now. I mean, this thing from 65 down almost to 60 now, taking a big hit, and it was already leaking in the pre-market. This one did the bull trap also. So seeing a lot of these did 15-minute resistance moves and then the wash. Some just did opening washouts, but like seeing a lot of those types of moves where it's like the opening drive to the 15-minute resistance and then failing that move. Victoria's Secret, very similar move. Drive up, back down, right? And so seeing that pattern all over. All right, traders, we're going to go ahead and get to our interview side of things. And this is where it gets fun because I got 2 CMTs to bother on the charts. So this is going to be a fun time. Of course, you guys see it. Markets in red, markets in turmoil out here. Let's go bring on the CMTs to calm down the environment out here. Andrew Moss joining us again. And you guys definitely have seen him on before. I hope you guys are following him already. And I'm going to put myself in the middle like the big bear in the conversation, and we need to be taking a look at the charts. What are the charts? What are the price action telling us? How are we doing today, Andrew?
The price action is telling us that we're going down, right?
Yeah, at least for the time being.
Really? What are you buying? Come on, give me something to buy.
All right. Let's
I've
take a
studied
look
charts
at it
for years and years to be able to tell you that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I think was important was looking to see if we were going to get back to like the highs, right, on that drive.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of traders are feeling like that now is looking like a little bit of a dead cat bounce. And now I think we need to be asking ourselves, were we really in a bubble environment? And is this the break to the bear, right? Was that more of a kind of panic move? And I was wondering, were we on the euphoria side of the bubble, or we were more on that panic bounce of the bubble? It seems like we were on that panic bounce, and now, of course, bears are getting they're digging deep here. Looking around, I'm trying to see what is making moves. Let's take a look at what you're watching here, Andrew. Feel free to kind of present your charts, and we can go through some of those. But first reaction, at least just overall from all the conversation, what was your reaction on the tariffs first, just overall?
Well, listening to you guys for the last couple of minutes here, it's a tough market. It's gone both ways. We got that initial pop on the announcement last night, and for about 2 seconds, people thought, "Hey, coast clear, we're going to get out of this thing," and then tank. We just fell off the cliff, and so now we're drifting lower, and we're getting these little reactionary bounces. And so far they've all been short-lived, and it's this slow, heavy action that makes it feel. I mean, look, we're trending down on basically every time frame. The weight of the evidence points to lower prices, and we're going to get these little rallies. And someday we will find an ultimate low and start going back up. But it doesn't look like it's today. At least not so far. And so this slow, heavy grind lower just seems like that's going to persist until we get to a point where we can put all this tariff stuff behind us.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of destruction around in the market. Where are you seeing some relative weakness? Where are you seeing some relative strength? And
you guys were looking at Estee Lauder when I came on a second ago, and something that it is getting crushed. And look at any discretionary, the whole sector. If you want to look at XLY, And I can put my screen up here if you guys want me to.
Yeah. We see our charts enough,
What about RP? You're an XLY guy instead of an RPSD enjoyer?
Yeah. It's hold on here. Let me see if I can get my right.
No worries. So when you're on that present area, you'll see entire screens or windows. So you can do like an entire screen. You can do a window. If not, then
bring up a chart too.
If not, yeah, we can bring the charts up. If not, Andrew, don't stress about it.
I hit the screen. I hit the share my charts. Can you see it?
Yeah, I got you, my friend. I'm going to get you up right now. I see a chart here. Okay. Let me just bring mine down. Boom, boom, and bring yours up here. There we go. See your XLY.
XLY, right? And XLY is getting crushed, and XLP is having a nice green day. You guys
nice day there, right?
Yeah, and looking at, let's zoom into here's Walmart,
Wally,
quick gap down and coming back up. Costco, Dollar General. These folks they've got some pricing power. They've got that's the places people want to be shopping if we're going into recession and tariffs are jacking prices up and all that kind of stuff. And then to look at the bigger picture over here and checking in on the relative chart. The discretionary versus staples is just, it continues to gather strength towards the staples again and again. So
I think this is a sign of mix, right? If I take a look into this space overall, I get these under consumer defensive sector and discount stores, but a little bit of a mixed noise also as Target taking a beating there too. So it's not just one store, right? They're looking at the cheaper stores and looking to see if they can hold on. But a lot of people were thinking that Dollar Tree and Dollar General would be some of the biggest hits today, right? They were in the kind of the after hours action, but it could just be overblown, right? 10% down really fast in Dollar Tree. So a little bit of some mean reversion trade going on there. I'm seeing apparel definitely being the concerning area. But any other kind of areas are standing out to you? Maybe let's go to some relative strength. Anything on the strength side of things here that's catching you by surprise?
Software was a little stronger earlier. We were looking at Palantir in the last couple of days, and it's actually holding up decent in all of this, right? It's a down day, but not getting absolutely crushed. You can notice here that it's finding some support once again at this anchored VWAP from November earnings. So these little areas of interest along the way have been useful, and it's holding up pretty well. I haven't looked at XLK, the whole sector. Not so good there as that's technology. That's not software. Software is IGV.
Oh, IGV, yeah, that will work.
There's a look at the not too much difference there. So some select names are holding up better, but as a sector, it's all getting crushed there pretty good. So
saw the disaster in Dell. Dell's just straight down.
Yeah, and so we've got earnings season coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to restart that whole parade cycle, right? And there's another question that DP was pointing out. David Prince earlier today in the group was, how are these companies going to be able to provide guidance with so much uncertainty about tariffs and all that kind of stuff?
Right.
So this is going to, and that probably makes a case for why maybe we're not at the bottom of this thing yet, because we've got to get through earnings season. We've got to see how the CFOs and the accountants and the CEOs and everybody are going to navigate this situation. What can they say confidently about the future and the earnings guidance with so many things being shaken up, so
I agree. I was talking about that a few minutes ago about how now I think the eyes will turn to the earnings, because the guidance is just going to be such a big focus on every stock, right? And I talked about it also on how that there's some exposure to certain countries, but it's not like companies put this in percentages in their filings, right? They're not just like, I'm 38% exposed to Vietnam, right? You just know that there's some exposure. So what's going to be also is listening to these conference calls to get signals of how bad that exposure really is here.
Yeah.
And at least for the Walmart case, I think there's another thing that it was given to us in the first kind of a quarter back. And in their earnings call, they talked about how they see a pricing ability there to just get around the tariffs. And so their concern is not as big as some would think about it for a Walmart. Even ChatGPT doesn't know that one. I will tell you that. ChatGPT thinks Walmart was one of those stocks that would get hit the hardest today. See?
Interesting.
You know how
Very
it is, guys.
So, hey, I got to back up for a second here and give Michael a shout out. He posted a chart the other day, and it was like he and Strauza both just, I mean, they were looking at this stuff and like, hey, this is, I think, Michael, I think you said, hey, this is a, you know, kind of an important level here, SPY 575s. And I saw that, and I was looking at the Qs, and man, you guys nailed that. That was just so many. Mitch, in the TA world, we love the word confluence, right? It's
100%.
So many factors coming together there around SPY 575 and Q495. And wow, that was just like a brick wall. And
monthly supports, monthly area too. That's where I was calling it off of that.
Okay.
And so that's how I called it, right? To make it easier, is just monthly support area, right? If you look at the January 575.35, December 580.91. So in that area, I was wondering, would we reject it? We rejected pretty hard in that area. And I think that was the concerning area, really, where we started to see breakdowns. And of course, this is also correction space still, right? We're not in bear camp just yet, right? I mean, bear is all the way down to, I think, 500 or below. So we still got ways to go.
Right there, I've got at 432, roughly in that area. That's what it would take to get us down 20% from the highs on the Qs. And on SPYs, it's hang on one second here, and we're looking at down around.
What do you think while you're looking around? Yeah, so that was, you know, that AV from all time high. You know, very Brian Shannonism. We all love that. That was a perfect trade. It was a good time too. I put on a lot of hedges, right, when it came to just the overall trades there. I've taken a lot of those off today. But I was wondering, what's your take on the relative strength there in Bitcoin? Because generally speaking, we just look at Bitcoin as like a Q's instrument. But you know, if we're anchoring to that March low, which is and I'm going to ask you about that as well. That's my instrument for relative strength right now. Is that March 11th, whatever low? If we're above that, then I'm liking the stock and I want to buy it. And if we're below that, I probably want to be out. But I'm just really, really shocked that Bitcoin's holding up as well as it is here. Just wondering.
You make a good point. We used to, when I say we, I think everybody used to look at kind of Bitcoin first as a kind of a risk on, risk off gauge. And it's like, okay, if Bitcoin's going up, people are feeling pretty good about things. And just look at this mess it's been in since the last bull run. You know, it's kind of got a topping formation here, but it never really goes anywhere. And all of the moves have been subject to quick reversals. The bands are just basically flat, the drifting lower, and it seems to have lost a lot of that utility as a risk gauge. And you know, look at the dollar. The dollar's getting crushed today, which makes sense, right? I'm not an economist, but in the scheme of tariffs and that kind of thing, that's not surprising, right? But Bitcoin is just kind of hanging out. I mean, it looks like it wants to break down and go lower, but every move, look at all of these long tails on the daily candles. It's just it's really been kind of a quagmire, and so I don't know what that means. It doesn't seem as useful as it used to be as kind of a risk on, risk off gauge. So I think it's finding a new normal. I think it's Bitcoin and everything crypto seems to be, I don't know, maybe trying to figure out where it really fits in the overall currency landscape. Maybe I don't know. That sounds way too. You know,
but do you look at it as relative strength? Do you say, okay, the market's getting crushed, Bitcoin isn't? Maybe I should be putting some of my money into, because that's kind of what I'm thinking about. Is just, why am I not, you know, sending, because I'm sitting a lot in cash, right? Trading this market and using my mean reversion systems that are doing okay. Certainly no trend following systems right now.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I'm just wondering, do I take a chunk of my money? Do I send it over to Kraken and put some in Bitcoin? Because if the market's going to turn around, when the market turns around at some point, is Bitcoin going to scream higher, right?
That's a perfectly logical way to look at things. Hold on, that's not the right chart.
All right, guys, taking a shot. At least I'm along on the VXX. Just want to let the traders know out there. We'll see if the SPY breaks the low here.
The relative strength is notable, but look at this breakout in attempt in Ethereum was completely rejected. To look at a couple of the other coins, and my point is, again, I like your idea. I like the thesis about the relative strength.
It's a reversal.
It just doesn't ever seem to go anywhere. So for me, I'm not. I don't know.
It's either because it's one of those like, well, and you have the same feeling too. When you're sitting on a bunch of cash as a technician, you're always just looking for what's the strong thing that I can put it into that, when the market ends up bottoming, because we all know it will. We don't know when, but we all know it will. What is it that I end up taking? I'm seeing like even Solana is breaking down today. A lot of the meme coins seem to be done. It's like 20% down in Farcoin, rest in peace. But do we just take and put some of that cash into Bitcoin, and then if the market levels out and that does well, and then if not, then we go from there? Because I'm looking at it, and even bonds like TLT, I expected to be up way more today. They did a pretty good job overnight of protecting us, but that's kind of done. Gold, I'm already in a lot of, so it's just I'm just out there hunting. Where's the relative strength? Where can I get involved and put some money in?
Well, it's a frustrating
SPY just broke there, and I got stopped out right before that, but SPY just broke the low there, guys. We'll see if it keeps going down here. That was a little bit annoying there. That was just a little bit of a stop hunt off that 58.90. They broke through it there. I tried to get back in there too, and it got some slippage through that. So I had to give up some of the gains there. Looking to see what happens here. The VXX can break through the highs. SPY still going lower now. We're just on a downtrend now. We can't even get kind of a trend line break opportunity back. So it looks like we're on a leak here. We'll see how far.
There's a heavy, slow action that just seems to, end up pushing lower, right?
Yeah. The way I refer to this, and I just should call this to traders that have told me about this, is in the .com era, it was all about death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
And so it was just leak, but small leak. And I think that this is what we're seeing right here. Death by 1,000 cuts. A lot of stocks coming down, but just slowly leaking here. There's some stocks that have some relative strength out there, but the VXX continuing to show the strength there. I think one of the things that I'll be watching too is I like the VXX. I like that 15 minutes on that. Keeps holding the 9 EMA now, and that's a sign for me that momentum is continuing to hold there. It even did like an attempted pullback there really quickly, and now you're seeing the strength right back in it. So we'll see what happens with that move. I was right here on this little pullback. That's where I felt like maybe the SPY could come back, but the VIX just got bought back up in there. And I'm thinking it's also about the option game today and buying safety, right? And I think a lot of traders are probably looking for ways to hedge some of their portfolios today, especially with all this action, all this negativity in the news. I haven't seen CNBC, but I didn't know if they were in the market turmoil conversation or not. But it's definitely
they must be by now. But that's usually the screaming buy, right? If they're in when you see
there's some people that measure it that measure that one. I've seen that. Energy going down today, also big hit in XLE. That was an area that a lot of traders were watching to see some type of strength stay into the market, trying to find relative strength into the market. You think about that oil move, essentially XLE coming right back down on the daily now. Now things are not looking so pretty on the XLE.
No, that's a pretty ugly looking chart, and I'm looking at the weekly here on USO, which it's just, it's sloppy, but it's had a bit of a trend line here and a couple of low attempts and unable to get above this 83 for months now. So certainly susceptible there, and XLE. not the relative strength we're looking for, right?
No.
Yeah,
And
and,
if you zoom out on that one, it's just been a nightmare for I don't even know why people still trade this until it can clear those ranges. Because what a choppy nightmare energy's been for so long. That chart, you're going back to what 2022, and we're basically at that price right now.
21 back here at the beginning of the chart.
Yeah, I feel bad for energy traders that have been trying to time that in any direction. Seems like a nightmare.
Yeah, it's really ugly.
XLP doing pretty well here with certain names going right back to the high. Pepsi now breaking through the high. Costco still up 4% there. Dollar General doing well. Monster pushing. Seeing some names really kind of holding on. Coke holding on there almost to a new high now. So and if there's one area that I'm seeing at least some strength holding on, which is also a good sign, because when I saw XLP take that hit yesterday, I was a little concerned. I was like, well, I mean, if even the defensive names come down, that's when we really got to be concerned. If they don't even want to run to those names, well, and I think that's when you really start worrying about the market here. VIX continuing to climb up. SPY just a slow leak here, slow leak. Where do you see opportunities in this market now? Maybe is there some short opportunities that you're still looking at?
I'm not putting on shorts right now. I came in pretty short last night, and had some puts and that kind of thing. And this morning was a good morning to cover some of those and take some profits and some puts and that kind of thing. And now it's just, I've got some small shorts on now in the Qs, and Michael talking about Bitcoin there. I've got a small MicroStrategy short position as kind of a proxy for Bitcoin there.
You're short a Ponzi scheme? What made you short a Ponzi
I know.
scheme?
Can you imagine? I know that's outlandish, but it is what it is right now. And so, if those things keep drifting lower, we'll take profits off along the way and just waiting for that bigger flush to start.
Miners getting hit also. So, and those miners are going to be struggling.
Yeah, and well, mining's such a rough business anyway that makes perfect sense to me. And you got to imagine they're getting a lot of their equipment abroad. So, but it's one of those things where my scanning tonight. I don't know about you, Andrew. My scanning tonight is going to be real simple. It's just show me every stock that was green today, and I'm probably going to go through every single one because you probably count them on 2-3 hands, but. That's where I think the real trading is, and that's kind of what I'm trying to give to a lot of the viewers and users here, is that you don't have to be super active today, right? Today's pretty crazy gap down, right? A lot of stuff is getting killed, right? A lot of stuff is holding on okay. Come in after the market closes and survey the aftermath. And then, come up with a decent scan of, hey, what was up today? Let me look at those. What was down the most today? Let me look at those. I think there'll be a pretty interesting game plan that develops after the close today, when emotions can kind of calm down a little bit and everyone can get back to normal. I will say bull markets are more fun, but there's a lot of money to still be made in these ones.
Well, the rallies in situations like this can be violent and very profitable if you're equipped to trade them just right. But you got to have a very short time frame and mindset and be quick to take profits. And so, unless that's your deal, less is more, fewer trades, smaller position sizes, wait for that big, sweet, fat pitch when it comes to get long, and you don't have to pick the bottom. It's we don't have to buy. Looking at the chart that's up 448.19, how many people are watching that pivot level as a chance to get long? Now, is that the bottom? Who knows? But everybody knows what they think will happen there is we flush that. A lot of stops get hit, and then you get a sharp rally back up. And we all know the deal. When everybody seems to be looking for something, maybe it doesn't happen quite that way. But then again, maybe it does. And if it does, it doesn't mean that we've seen the bottom and the coast is clear. But watch those areas, the pivots, the moving averages, the VWAPs. They all tell a story along the way, and I'll just be taking it slow and trying to be patient until this thing kind of gets sorted out.
You gotta have the attitude of Andrew's dog back there. To say
what's that?
We gotta all have that attitude of your dog back there. He doesn't care about.
He's very patient.
Yeah, he's
thrilled by the action today. He thinks
he's
this
just
fantastic. And
yeah.
I've run all my best ideas by him, so to make sure, if he reacts at all, then maybe I've got a problem.
One thing that I'm looking at here, guys, is China FXI here. Looking at it as a potential short opportunity here. I haven't taken a trade, but I'm looking at it as it did go up a little bit here. Of course, yesterday's action had brought it back down towards 34.20. So that's where I see the opportunity there is this thing gapped up in the morning and actually made a move up out the gates here. And now is starting to pull back there. Of course, we all know how extreme the tariffs were mentioned against China. So I'm thinking here, is this an opportunity maybe for the short side as you're getting a gift on the bounce here? A lot of longer term traders have been kind of holding on to China as it's been a great area for 2024 and 2025, an area that I was looking to see do well. I know that you've been holding also in this space, Michael. So I'll kick it to you guys. Yeah. How do you guys feel about FXI now?
See, the way I look at that, a trade like that is it's just, again, each trade their own, but that's just the opposite of my thinking. I look at something like BABA and say, man, this thing is holding up great in this market. If anything, I want to buy more. Right? If anything, if we hold up here, I want to buy more BABA, right? I want to start getting involved more in China because the news is out, right? Everyone knows what the tariffs are. If it's not going to get hit super hard, then great. That means that the only thing that can happen is less tariffs and things could push from there. So, it's one of those things where I'm, again, going to go through this list. BABA's almost green on the day. If BABA can hold green on the day, I'll probably be buying more into the close, right? I'm looking for what is relatively strong. I want to own more of that. What's relatively weak, I want to kill it. Anything that's getting slaughtered today, when I open up my swing portfolio a little later, it's just going to be gone. Just indiscriminately get out. Anything like BABA that's actually holding up, if anything's making me money today, I'll be allocating more capital to that one for sure. Because I haven't opened up my swing broker yet, but I guarantee there's not a lot of things making me money today. So the ones that are going to get a little bit more attention.
It's a great place to focus your attention.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. SPY still on the leak. No bounce back on the SPY here as it keeps leaking. And it's now time for the algos to take over. We'll see what happens as we get closer towards 11. Any final words for our traders, investors, swing traders, all different types of traders that we have out there? Andrew, a part of the Trade the Pool space here. How are you approaching things on a day like today? Are you more in wait and see? Or more in you want to continue action throughout the day?
Right now, I'm kind of wait and see. Now that may change by the close. Like I said, we had some good positions on into the event yesterday, and most of them worked out. I'll tell you one that didn't work. I had to illustrate kind of how tough the market's been. I did put on a small short in Amazon late in the day yesterday, up in. The chart, I got a signal on one of the systems I use, and the chart I got short in the 198s, and I was pretty small by 194s going into the close there. Obviously a very short time frame trade, and the news came out and everything popped for about 2 seconds, right? And so I took that and got flat after hours, and looked at it later and thought, wow. Why'd I do that? But I mean, I know why I did that. That was the trade. But just the misdirection there in the price action was, and that's why you're small. That's why you're doing less going into a big binary event like that. And I think that is still probably where I'll be focused and probably makes sense for a lot of folks is just doing a little less, smaller sizes, waiting for that fat pitch to come. If and when. So.
Cash is a position, right?
You guys are chatting together. I think it's important to have, I'm a chart guy. I'm not a fundamental guy. I've got a great group of folks that I talk with every day and work and trade with, and they've got things like, listening to those conference calls you were talking about, Mitch. Like, what are the earnings? You get a lot of
matters most.
Yeah, and I think when having the ability to listen and interpret and pick up on the feel of what the people are saying is a very important skill. It's not a sweet spot for me. Luckily, I know some folks that are really good at it. So putting all the pieces together that way, I think there will be maybe in earnings season, we get that flush down and hit that, supposedly magic 20% level on SPYs and Qs. And then we can think about maybe the bottom being behind us, or maybe they come out and say, hey, we've got a better handle on this than anybody expected. It could go either way. But I do think that combination probably of the fundamental story, getting some clarity around that, and the technicals fulfilling some more downside objectives, maybe that's the thing that leads us to a more tradable longer-term bottom in the next weeks and month or so. So we'll be watching for that.
Always interesting markets. I saved you for the best day, I felt like, this week. So I was happy to have you on today, man. Throwing up here in the chat, guys. Definitely give him a follow so you guys can keep up with all his action and analysis. Like always, it's great to have you on, Andrew. And I needed to bring on the CMTs to calm the seas down today. We'll see. If the seas want to get calmed, right? I mean, it's definitely a day-to-day where it feels like everyone's taking speedboat rides when you should maybe open the sails and see what happens, right? Is there tailwinds? Exactly. Is there headwinds, right? That's what we need to be asking ourselves a little bit more. And what does this really do to the market? Will this be the pressure that we need also to come back to valuations that make sense, right? I talked about how there was a bubble with AI, and I really did feel that way. As a quick one, Andrew, did you feel that we were in a bubble environment and we're coming off of that?
I don't know. It felt a little frothy for sure. It's when we've got things this
like
is
Palantir that don't want to come down.
It's the strength is there, but when a big tell like Michael mentioned there, I mean, fart coin, seriously, that's a real
one of Michael's favorite.
I mean, come on. And so that was, talking about Bitcoin being a risk proxy or gauge, maybe that duty has shifted down to the meme coins and that kind of stuff. And when people don't care, they're going to buy that stuff up. And now, guess what? People care again. So when all else fails and it seems like too much, take a note from the dog, just relax, take a nap, come back when the chart gets better.
It's a cat nap type of day, man. A cat nap, dog nap. Just take it easy. Just nap on out, guys. We'll see what happens. Like always, we'll be here along the way, guys. Tomorrow will be an important day with the jobs report. Keep your eyes on that. Andrew, thanks for joining us today. Michael, like always, my friend, always good to have you guys. You guys can definitely take a look into the market just as good as anybody out there. And that's why we bring on the CMTs, guys. We're definitely a big supporter of the CMT program. And we'll be back with you guys, of course, on Monday. You guys will have to do it yourselves tomorrow. But where you can go, the Discord. The Discord is definitely a place where it's be. And I'll tell you what, guys, go to the Discord tomorrow. I'll jump in there on audio a little bit just to at least give you guys some look into the market of what I'm seeing out there. Stay tuned. Andrew, we'll have you back. And Michael, like always, it's always good to have you guys. Another day, a red light day. Hopefully, I can turn this light back on Monday. I don't want it to be red on Monday. We'll see what happens, guys. Hit the like.